The Spanish Announce Table.
It is episode 344 of the Spanish Announce Table, live directly after AEW Dynamite Homecoming, special live almost recap. It is a recap. It is a live post-show recap of AEW Dynamite Homecoming. We'll also talk some other stuff throughout the professional wrestling world. Big news happened this week. Normally we record these on Thursday nights, but Tom's going to go to a fun concert in Kansas City.
Foo Fighters. I got Foo Fighters tomorrow night. Gotta love Foo Fighters show. If you've never been, definitely make sure to come when they come to your town. And Tim, I tell you what, we do have a jam-packed show. We're going to be talking Dynamite right off of the heels of that Malakai Black hitting Cody in the back with a crutch. And then we've got a great interview later on to show you about a local promotion here in Kansas City that's going to set the world on fire. But Tim, let's get it started right now with AEW Dynamite Homecoming. This was, again, a show that took place from Jacksonville, Florida. And it kicked off with the third chapter in the 5 labors of Jericho, Juventud Guerrera versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho had to win this match by using a top rope maneuver. Now, before we get into more of the details, what did you think overall of this match?
A good way to start, right? I mean, let's get this Juventud Guerrera nostalgia, to hype up the crowd. And ideally there's, high flying involved because of the stipulation. So, yeah, I mean, I felt good going into this and coming out of it. It was fine. I don't think this was anything that, we'll be talking about for years to come or anything. I mean, this wasn't like a 5-star match, but I was like, all right, I'm kind of
here.
Continue. We'll talk more about my waning feelings.
Okay, because I thought this was sad.
Oh, yeah.
This was really sad. Juventud Guerrera, again, came in, did his thing. I think him and Jericho had maybe some timing issues as far as the match. It didn't look, sometimes you have like a Stan Hansen match or a Vader match where it's sloppy, but it looks like a real fight. You know what I mean? So you can be sloppy and it's okay. John Moxley can do that in today's wrestling landscape where it's not looking good, but some punches and you're like, man, this might be a real fight. With this match though, first off, I don't know if Jericho's touring too much with Fozzy or is doing too many other side gigs, but he looked exhausted, worn out, bloated. He always does. Again, this isn't a diss like, oh my God, Jericho. It's just this one in particular of this string of matches. And I know there's only been 3 so far, but even before that with the Inner Circle versus Pinnacle, this was his man, we need to get you on a vacation just to get you to recharge your batteries. But I like the storytelling, right? So the storytelling of the match was good. We alluded back to some things with Jericho taking off Juventud Guerrera's mask in 98, trying to do it again in 2021. So there were some good callbacks. And I did think that the finisher was creative because he had to win with a top rope maneuver. So he hits the Judas effect. And then he's like, you know what? I'm just going to do it from the top rope. And I was like, yeah, that's what you would do. So I thought it was
from the top rope, right?
I thought it was pretty creative to get us to the finish. I just thought it should have been a little shorter and maybe 4 weeks from now and not tonight. Cause it just didn't look good.
Yeah. And then MJF's done with the commentary. He's mad. Wardlow comes out after Jericho gets the victory, beats him down. And then, we say, Wardlow's your next match. Now the twist is I'm going to be the ref. So, okay, that's a little more difficult, but I was kind of like, it's Wardlow. So we're not getting the Jericho retirement tour, I don't think, that we were discussing.
Oh, but see, and this isn't you. This is just generally speaking. That's people working themselves into a shoot where they want what they want. That's true. And it's like, you're not paying attention to what necessarily, the writers want.
Weird because it was like, well, then why was there Nick Gage? Nick Gage made sense because it was like, hey, you're not going to get past this psycho. But then it was like, Juventud? It didn't. You know what I mean? It was weird. It was like Jericho
but it was
this. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But it was a call. Again, not breaking kayfabe here for a second. It was a callback to MJF saying oh, you're just going to talk shit on this guy. Well, he actually wants to kick your ass, and I think he can. So,
but why would you think he can? You would look at him and be like, "Look at this guy."
I don't, because he's beat him in the past.
Fucking Wardlow, and you've got fucking,
Yeah, but Next week, we will see the Chapter 4, Wardlow versus Jericho with MJF as the special guest referee. This is going to be weird. I don't know how, again, they haven't told a bad story yet. As I mentioned, aesthetically, just viewing it sometimes is not the best thing, but the story on paper, if you were to write this down, it's been home runs. And so I'm not going to say that they can't get out of this, but I don't know another WWE way, non-WWE way to do this story. But again, I'm anxious for next week because they've been doing great with these first 3 matches.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. The Wardlow MJF thing, he's going to get through that, and then we're going to get MJF. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything spectacular out of that, but I guess they will have time to prove us wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Tim, we get right into Heartbreak. The closest I've came to crying during a Dynamite episode is the next segment after the Jericho versus Guerrero match. We got the Dark Order being interviewed backstage, and before they can really even say anything of substance, Hangman Adam Page, right here, guys, ladies and gentlemen, Hangman Adam Page breaks up with the Dark Order. He says, I got to do this on my own. I think we need to see other people. It's not you, it's me. And what? Tim? Now we'll get into
this fits
part
though.
2.
This fits very well with the story though. Like this is who he is. He's like, I'm not good enough, man. I don't want to bring you down. That's what he did to the Elite. Now the Elite were assholes and he was better off without them, but now it's
I don't like it.
I know. It made me feel sad. You know what doesn't make me feel
Claws
sad?
up.
Sidebar, just to kind of maybe lift your spirits so you can continue through this sad story.
Okay.
The Domo guy is in the chat, and we invite anybody to join the chat that's watching live right now. Get in the chat, say what's up, tell us what you think. And anyway, what we think about this is sadness.
I was sad. I was definitely sad, but we did get a part 2, so we'll get into that here in just a second. The next thing we got after that was a trios match, a 6-man match, however you want to say it. You got 2.0, which is the former Everrise from NXT, and Daniel Garcia, which if you've seen Daniel Garcia on Elevation, man, he had a match with Lee Johnson that is worth your time, Tim. It was really good. They took on the 3, baddest dudes, baby faces in AEW, Darby Allin, Eddie Kingston, and Jon Moxley. And this was fun. If I were to book the show, again, if I had the pill, I can do it better than you, right? But I would have kicked off with this match. This was the fun. What the hell are we doing? Oh, man. Oh, I got some fun things. There's Moxley. There's Sting. Woo, woo, woo. Like, this was fun. This is a good, proper way, I thought, to, get the energy into the show.
Yeah. I just, I still don't know. Like, we hired yet another tag team.
Here's the thing I will say about that, though. And I agree with you, right? This is the land of 10,000 tag teams, but breaking kayfabe here for a quick second. We got one of our teams in hot water in the Acclaimed, right? They kind of got in some hot water on Dark with the rap that Max Caster said.
Right.
You got FTR and Santana and Ortiz tied up with their feud together. I mean, what are you going to do? Have the Young Bucks wrestle the Varsity Blondes again? Because the Best Friends are out of commission because you got Trent with the neck surgery. So I actually think, again, I don't think 2.0, as now we're calling them, is going to challenge the Young Bucks in 2 weeks' time. But I didn't hate it. I think they're a good team for someone else to beat up on to then make them look strong. I did see, because again, we live tweet also during AEW Dynamite at Table Show on Twitter, if you want to join the conversation. I saw that because they have a little bit of the Young Bucks vibe to them. And I guess they're from Canada. People wanted to call them the Canuck Bucks.
The Canuck Bucks. Yeah, they did. So when they were in NXT, I could see, I was like, look, they're going to try to get over. Like they've clearly got a charisma. They're buddies together and they've got a shtick. They're yuck guys. I think they're cool and they're snide and they got witty remarks, and so we'll see if they let them shine in AEW and maybe they show us that hey, they should be here and others should be pushed out. But I was just like, man, if they're gonna hire everybody that gets fired from like NXT and WWE, and they're gonna need more than 1 hour Rampage, man.
That's true. And I've always thought that the perfect amount of wrestling television is an hour and a half, especially for a roster that is big as this one is and rumored to be bigger as we move forward. So I'm okay with it. Again, you also have to fill 2 hours of time for Dark. You have to fill 2 hours of time for Elevation. And so, again, I like the team because honestly, I never really watched them on NXT because their segments were when I would turn back over to Dynamite. You know what I mean? But I did like you want to take a shot at me? You want to take a shot at me? And during the match, the dark-haired guy, I liked the spot where he got starstruck by Sting, and then Darby Allin just does a suicide dive and takes him out. Thought that was fun. But what I will say was the most fun in this match was actually post-match. So, as expected, Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston, Darby Allin pick up the victory. Well, as you know, Darby Allin's father always follows him to the ring, Sting. And I just thought it was so cool how Eddie Kingston was like a 10-year-old kid going like, this is fucking Sting. He legitimately said that when he put his arm around him. He goes, this is fucking Sting. And then you got Sting doing the too sweet. And then you got Moxley like, yeah, what the fuck is this? This is cooler, right? Like, those are the little moments that makes AEW fun. Because that is nothing that I don't think we're going to build to where we're going to have a new trios team. But it was a fun moment in the sun where you have, CZW, Independent Pro Wrestling King, Eddie Kingston, former WWE powerhouse, Jon Moxley, and Sting hanging out.
Here's something I thought of. I would almost at this point like them to start this idea of a trios division with trios champions, because that's an easy thing to do with, like, oh, we've got a tag team and we got a random guy. You know what I mean? We'll fit him over there. Or, a tag team goes down, one guy's injured. Well, this guy can go with another guy, right? And then you can take your bloated tag team roster and kind of meld it with this trios roster and give them all something to do. So I wouldn't hate that idea of, like, more trios teams, if you will.
Yeah. Well, especially, I don't know what their future is going to be, but you get, like, a death triangle to come out, and, that would be, tons of fun. So
give somebody
I wouldn't hate that at all.
Especially when you got a guy like Pac, right? Who's going to hover somewhere around your top of your card, but here it doesn't feel like you've just relegated him to the tag team. He can still lead a team of two guys and go get the trios title.
Right, exactly. So as we move forward in AEW's Dynamite's Homecoming episode, we got a backstage vignette promo. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to call it, but it was a Team Taz. It was Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. Brian Cage making some really valid points. I will say that. It felt like more of a shoot from him, and Team Taz just kind of paint by numbers were the heels, because Brian Cage was talking about, hey, you cost me a title shot. Hey, you never really did anything for me. And hey, you gave me this consolation FTW championship that no one cared about. The hell are you? Why do I even need you?
Why do I care? Yeah. Yeah, I like this a lot. And you're right. I think I came away thinking more Brian Cage here when I had kind of checked out from Brian Cage out of all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, this was fun. This was a good reset for Brian Cage. Again, I think he's a guy, I don't know necessarily his in-ring ability, because I don't, pay attention to the nuances of how his side tackle is and all that bullshit. But, like, he looks like a guy that should be at the top of your card. You know what I mean?
You don't, like, talk about how many times he did a triple spinning over his ball sack plancha dive?
Yeah. I'm not talking about how snug the headlock is and all that bullshit. That ain't for me. I'm a storyteller. Tell me some stories. Brian Cage looks like a guy that I want to see stories from.
If YouTube didn't have a very tight limit on how many characters could be in the title of your YouTube video, the spinning over his ball sack, triple spinning over his ball sack plancha dive might be a hell of an episode name.
Yeah, keep it there in the back pocket.
Yeah,
you never
exactly.
know.
Right. I might be testing the character limits, but hey,
do
what are you gonna do? It's a hard work here we got going on.
Right. After the Team Taz promo, we got another promo. This was backstage next to a basketball goal. We had the Elite, which was the perfect amount of douchebag for these group of dorks.
For these
Good
douchebags.
God. Yeah. But like, here's the thing. They're not even cool enough to be douchebags. They're too dorky to be douchebags.
Might still get a girl, right? But these guys, you're like, now again, in real life, I'm sure these guys have, what I mean? But to be like, you're like, nobody even wants to hang out with this guy. At least a douche has some friends. Like these guys.
Well, at least a douche, you're like, man, I wish I had some of those qualities. Like what qualities would you want from Carl Anderson?
Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, exactly. But like you look But I mean, still, if you look at the Good Brothers, what traits do you want from them? Balding, and you can spin a basketball on your finger like you could in fourth grade.
Triangle Fu Manchu, right? Do not discredit their abilities to make a mean triangle Fu Manchu.
And apparently, Carl Anderson wanted us to know that he could spin a ball on his finger. Like we all couldn't do that in grade school. That is not an impressive trait, pal. Just like you think you're over, that you told me you're over. Yeah, bud. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm over it.
But it was good. Right. But I will say this. It was interesting that the Young Bucks, because I still feel like we're going to get the Hangman Kenny Omega story to be told at All Out or another pay-per-view, right? But I did like how the Young Bucks said, hey, who else is there for us? And they're not wrong. That's where I was telling you earlier. It's like, who is the babyface tag team that's going to come up and take the titles off of the Young Bucks right now? And you really can't say who that is.
I don't think there is. That's why it needs to be the Dark Order. God damn it.
Well, we'll see. Got some time. Now let's get back into the ring here. We get the Blade, who, man, I tell you what, I don't think he's moving mountains or parting the seas, but he is putting in some work as a singles competitor.
Yeah.
And he took on Christian. And I thought this was your standard, Christian Cage, grizzled old veteran gets the W. But this wasn't bad at all. I thought this was some fun.
I thought it was too. Yeah, I mean, I did not set high expectations for this, so there's that. But we've talked about this. I as much as we've been like, oh no, they're hiring more people from WWE. They've used these veterans right almost every
perfectly.
time. I can't think of where it's been like, oh my, the Sting Snow thing right when it started, when it was like 8 weeks of like, it snows, Sting hits the ring, everybody runs, right? With that whole Team Taz deal. I think that was the only time we've been like, maybe they can do this a little better.
Repetitive.
Yeah.
I agree, because if this was Christian in WWE, he might be getting an Intercontinental Championship match at SummerSlam, right off the bat, not even winning a match. So I think he's being used great. Yeah. So now we get Christian picks up the victory. Then we go back to another promo. We get FTR and Santana and Ortiz, although this was Fat FTR2, talking about how FTR1 cut his arm open. I think we're getting another match, but I think the next match is going to be the last match. I think that last match was supposed to be it, but obviously with a cut artery, you're not going to end on that note.
Apparently it gouged out a part of his arm.
Jeez. And then they stopped the scene. They stopped the still shot of when it happened, and fuck. That was miserable.
Hey, don't try this at home.
No. Just
you can try it at home because you don't have a ring hook, right? You don't have a ring rope hook there, so you're fine to try this at home.
Hopefully not. That'd be weird.
At home. Yeah, well, maybe you don't.
I know what you're into.
Ring ropes, hooks, and Singapore canes, baby. That's all. It's all in my dungeon down here.
Yeah, that's standard protocol for a pro wrestling fan. And person with a gimp fetish. Anyhow, we had a in-ring promo next with Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. One thing I did like about this promo before we got into the actual promo is how JR was like, Tony Schiavone's ad-libbing those hugs. Like, he just gave him shit. I thought that was so funny. That was one of his best lines. He's just like, he's ad-libbing those hugs.
Something we didn't hit on was during the first match with MJF at commentary, Tony Schiavone's working himself into a shoot with MJF, and he's really starting to be like, you're a son of a, I don't fucking know, like, yeah.
And he might be right. Like, it might be like a legit feeling.
He at one point said, he was like, you're the likes of which I've never seen, or something like that. He was like, you were just, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yes.
MJF, again, is another great guy on commentary. We talk about Jericho being on commentary. Wouldn't hate it if MJF did a full-length episode either.
Anytime, and, hope this doesn't happen, but if MJF gets injured and can't go for a while, like, that's a perfect spot for him. Get him on there just hating on everything.
Definitely. But as we move back to the Britt Baker promo, she talks about how she's the champ. And, again, before she can even really establish what her, bullet points are, we get Red Velvet walks out, and she's like, bitch, red looks bad on you, and also I can kick your ass. And then Britt Baker, not being intimidated by that, was like, bitch, I beat you in 2 minutes last time. Who the fuck are you? And then Red Velvet again came back and was like, hey, I was enhancement talent. I was learning what I was doing around here. Like, I am way better than what you faced back then. And Britt Baker was like, so am I. Bitch, I got a title. I love this promo.
I loved it.
Because Red Velvet came with swagger and an energy that wasn't like, I'm going to be talking to the champ. And Britt Baker came with that like, yeah, you're stepping to the queen. You know who the fuck I am? And so thought it was done perfectly well by both girls here.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think this is exactly kind of what the beauty of Dark and Dark Elevation are, in that these folks are getting to go out in front of crowds. And not just like the dark WWE does dark matches, but they don't necessarily put them in front of live audience like this to the point where they're putting it on YouTube every time. So it's not just this crowd that's seeing this, like, oh my God, we're going to try something that we can't let anybody else see. And I think it's done great for somebody like Red Velvet. And then you get to work them up into, now she's the number one contender because she's won 4 matches you didn't see, but you know what I mean? Like, here you go. You know, if you didn't watch other things, but it almost entices you to be like, well, where did she come up from that? I think this is great. She's done a lot of improvement. And of course, DMD gets better nearly every time we see her.
Another thing that I like, and this was one thing I think we both criticized before AEW started, but the wins and losses, you know, how they're going to keep track of wins and losses. This is a good way to use that to say Red Velvet is, I think, what'd you say, 18-4 or 22-4, something like that. You can say that, and in kayfabe, that seems legit. And also, if you look at the rankings, which I know the rankings are, all of a sudden we got a number one contender. How did that happen? I understand, but again, it's pro wrestling. Have fun, right? Don't let a good story get caught with bad details. You know what I mean? But a top 5 contender is now challenging for the championship. I think that is a good, easy story to tell any casual fan. Because if you just say, hey, it's Britt Baker, your champion, taking on Red Velvet. If some casual fan is just like, I keep hearing about this Britt Baker from, you know, my nerdy pro wrestling fans, I'm going to check her out. But who's this Red Velvet? Is she any good? Just by proxy of putting a number 5 or a number 4 or even a number 1 contender, the casual fan will then associate like, okay, she's taking on someone who is good. She might beat her, but this person is still a worthy challenger. So even though I think, you know, we were both on the same page, being skeptics of this, so far it's been turned out to be a good feather in their cap to use for storytelling. So I like it.
I like it. Hey,
all right,
you know what else I like?
Oh,
the
what do you
beer
like?
sponsor of the week. Now, once again, the beer sponsor of the week this week is our goddamn selves. Nobody gave us any money. If you want to be the beer sponsor of the week, if you want your name right here, then go to SpanishAnnounceTable.net. There's a PayPal link. You donate us a beer amount's worth of money, and tell us if you want a specific beer or you just want us to pick. Let us know, and then we'll tell everybody how great you are. You know, maybe, you know, some other fun stuff about you. SpanishAnnounceTable.net. Check that out. PayPal. Give us some money. We need money.
We do need
Beer's
money.
expensive.
I tell you what. It is, but it's also tasty, and we also like giving compliments, so please join us. Also, in future weeks, join us on YouTube, as a couple people are right now. You can also do that. But let's get back into the show. Yeah, of course. Right. Hey, you know, don't let the details get in the way of good story.
When they say there's like 2 viewers, they mean that in thousands,
right? Yep, of course. Hey, let's keep it going.
Right.
So, quick question for you, Tim.
Yeah. 9 inches.
Is Fuego Del Sol the best seller in AEW?
God, he is.
Back-to-back weeks.
He looks dead when he sells. Like his noodle arms are like just like he just looks like you instantly like finish him, right? Just done.
Yeah, he does. Done. But he doesn't do it in a sense that's like
it's not Shawn Michaels flopping over the place. It looks like
exactly.
Legit knocked a motherfucker out and his lifeless, limp body fell to the floor.
Yeah, so let's get into the segment here. Andrade and Chavo Guerrero talk about how, hey, Lucha Bros, if you're not going to come work for us, fuck you. We got someone who will work for us, and it's Fuego Del Sol. And instantly, Chavo Guerrero says Andrade needs his boots cleaned.
Yeah, he's like,
and Fuego's like, wait a minute. I did not sign up for that. And Andrade's like, "You're not going to fucking do it?" And he's like, "Well, what?" And then before he could even say yes or no, whop, he gets a good old "how's your father" right to the bread basket, and then just gets thrown into that sliding door, or that steel door 4 to 5 times. And then the art of Fuego resting his unconscious head on Andrade's shoe, thought it was great. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Fuego Del Sol has been noticeable in that, like, he gets himself, he's on TV, he's getting a big time spot where we remember him now. So it's going to be this is the thing that'll turn you into a guy that people are rooting for now, right? If he picks up a win, we're going to be like, fuck yeah, Fuego, right? We're going to be like, there you go. Yeah.
Love him. I do like him. He's really fun on Dark, and he was really a good crowd member during those pandemic era AEW Dynamites.
Yep.
So let's get into another promo after this one, and it looks like even though Lance Archer is your New Japan Pro Wrestling United States champion, he's still going to be coming back to AEW to feud with Dan Lambert. Here's what I'll say. I was trying to be optimistic, and here's my thought. Yes.
For you?
Because...
Like, optimistic for you.
I'm optimistic for the wrestling fan.
Anybody.
Because, again, I think it's fun when you get the casual wrestling fan who's the big time MMA star to come in, right? You get the Jorge Masvidals, you get the Amanda Nunes. Dustin Poirier trains at American Top Team. He just knocked out Conor McGregor. You could have Dustin Poirier come into AEW. That's a big time get for AEW, right? And I hope that happens. However, I hope the real backup is a pro wrestler and also a former MMA fighter. I hope it's Filthy Tom Lawler who's coming to AEW.
Yeah, that I would not hate.
That's what I'm saying. That forbidden door is open. MLW, I bet, once in on this whole AEW.
Lawler has the benefit of, and I hope he never hears me say this, being charismatic, being good at pro wrestling, right? Being good at storytelling, and also being a guy that you look at and you're like, this guy looks fucking weird. And you like kind of can't take your eyes off of him. You know what I mean? Like Tom Lawler looks like you know what I mean? Just captures your
And he
your whole,
is.
Yeah.
He is. I've hung out with him many times. I think he's the funnest, weirdest guy in the world. He is great for one night out at the bars. You don't want to wake up with him like in a hotel room. Like, hey man,
you don't want to see that you stole a tiger together, right?
Right? Yeah, we don't want to have a hangover moment. But the night of, he's the best. Oh, he's the best.
Seems
but he is a wild man.
You know who else
and he's
is
a good
great?
wrestler.
You know who else is great? Once again, I'm going to shout out the chat. We got somebody who we haven't interacted with yet. Devin, it looks like, says, I think Alistair retired Cody. Oh, we're going to get there.
Oh, we'll get there in just a second. Yeah, so
welcome.
You just hold tight.
Welcome.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks for joining.
Of course. So, I hope it's Filthy Tom Lawler. That's who I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm worried about this, if I'm being honest. Yeah, look, this guy must have paid a lot of money to get on TV, and they've got to, you know what I mean, do whatever. But, man.
Well, I will say this. To his credit, he cuts a good promo.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't seem like he fumbles his words, and he doesn't seem like he needs a take two. He does it pretty well. I will give him that. It's not the worst casual.
As a manager.
Right. It's not the worst casual in pro wrestling history.
He's a guy you want to hate. He's got a punchable face.
Definitely a punchable face.
So do we.
Another guy with punchable face shows up in our next segment. But before he shows up, we have an interview in ring. Tony Schiavone talking to Hangman Adam Page says, hey, you need to clarify your comments. You broke our hearts earlier in this episode, and we need some clarification. And Hangman, kind of par for the course, he can't even get out what he was about to say. And the Elite comes out. There's Carl Anderson doing his middle school trick of balancing a ball on his finger like a fucking idiot.
Hey, did he say something about his hot wife?
Probably. I thought she was leaving him, though. Ha! Anyhow. Then you had the Elite and all that.
That's what she told me last week. Anyway.
And so we get our fun things, right? But we get a beat down. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. We get a beat down of the Elite on Hangman Adam Page.
A thorough beat down.
And right when you think the Dark Order is there to save the day, they run from the back. They are right by the ringside. And Grayson and Evil Uno pushes them back and says, guys, Hangman said he needs to do this on his own. Oh, Tim.
Your heart just aches for the Hangman.
What a twist. Last week we talked about like, oh man, they lost. What are we going to do now? Who knew we were going to get more of a layered story with Dark Order and Hangman? We thought this was going to be, more focused on Hangman and Kenny Omega / the Elite. And now we're going down this rabbit hole with the with Hangman and the Dark Order.
And I think now I think in hindsight, of course, this was the right move because the Hangman story has been this, right? Like he gets down on himself. He thinks he's letting his friends down. His friends don't think that. His friends just want him to hang out and be cool, be himself. But he doesn't like himself. And so he, you know what I mean? Like he just prefers, like, no, nobody needs me bringing him down. I just got to do this myself. And doesn't work for him when everybody needs a friend, man. Everybody needs a helping hand.
Everyone
can't do this show myself. I need a friend.
Yeah, I need a friend too. Right. Yeah. You right there? I don't know what the point.
Yeah. I'm to your right. Yeah. You're to my
right there.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're to my left. I don't know. Yeah, you're to my
Here,
left.
I'm looking at the live stream. See if.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
You're supposed to flip it.
If you right, well, if you're watching the YouTube live stream, or if you're watching this on YouTube later after we post it, you'll see what we're doing here. But check us out on YouTube.
Yeah, you got to check out the YouTube. YouTube.com/SpanishAnnounceTube. But of course, you can find every link you need for any of our stuff at SpanishAnnounceTable.net.
Now, I will say this segment was pretty darn good, except for we needed to change one thing up. So the segment ended with Kenny Omega saying, this is the closest you're going to get to the championship. And then it hits Hangman in the face with the AEW championship belt.
Should have ended it there.
Poetic. Well, that's how it ended. That's how it ended, right? So that was pretty great. But before that, we had the Elite loser.
Yeah.
No, he sucks. And this is the thing. If you want to make him look credible, this is how I would have done it. Let me take you down a little bit of T-Mac tweaks.
First of all, before we get there, I do like that poor Kazarian had to take a couple, like, thrown basketballs his way. That was a fun spot.
I like it. It was fun.
Chucking basketballs at him.
Yeah, take this for you.
How'd you get concussed? Well, I took a basketball to the side of the head when I was in my underwear play fighting.
Yeah. But this is how I think you should have done it. You should have still had Hangman get hit with the belt with Kenny Omega saying this is the closest you're ever going to get to the AEW championship.
And that's it's a great
moment. It's great.
The metaphors, all of it. Love it.
But then Frankie can come in and chase off the Elite. Like, they can be, oh, whoa, that guy's crazy, and just say, like, you're not worth our time, but then kind of have some fear in their eyes. Instead, it's another example of him coming out and just getting his ass kicked.
It's one thing if, like, he's the Elite Hunter. He'll never win one of these matches necessarily against the Elite guys, but he comes in with 2 baseball bats and a chain and can clear the Elite out for 20, 30 seconds to let somebody get out of town, right? Like that kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah, he looks like a dumbass every time.
Hold him at bay at least for a few minutes. You know what I mean? Like, and then get consumed or get out of town. Ninja moves, right? He comes in, behind them, all of a sudden 1, 2, 3 are knocked out, and Kenny Omega turns around, he's like, what the hell happened to everybody? And then the Elite Hunter's gone, right? Like, that's way better, right? Like a sniper. He's the Elite sniper, right? Like, he sneaks in when nobody's looking, and all of a sudden, fucking crowbar to the back of the head, and Mr. Asian Hot Wife is down on the ground. Everybody's like, what the hell happened?
Well, you know who he could learn some lessons from? Darby Allin's father, Sting. Sting used to do this to the NWO all the time, except for he looked strong. He didn't look like an idiot. So maybe we need to have a backstage segment with Kazarian looking at a picture of the Elite being consumed with hate, and Sting just pats him on the shoulder and is like,
an idea.
I think you need some help. Let me show you the way. And then we get that.
So we get Crow Kazarian.
Good!
Crozarian!
Frankie
Crozarian, that's the title.
Yeah, that's fun. I like that. That's better than what he's doing right now, because he looks like a fucking idiot right now.
Even if he did it tongue-in-cheek and became Crozarian, I think we would love that.
Yeah. And then Sting is kind of like, hey, man, I wanted to give you tips. I don't want you to rip off my gimmick.
Yeah,
he's like, well, it's working. It's working.
We didn't talk about royalties here.
But he's like, it's working, so I'm going to keep doing it.
But Crozarian doesn't even say anything. He just like, mysteriously like backs out of the room and sings like, "I can see you."
Yes.
Takes a mask off and it's just more face paint underneath. He's like, I know that shtick. I did that too.
I do that at 3 different companies. I know what you're doing. Yeah. Oh my God.
God damn, you've been watching that network for $9.99.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back into AEW Dynamite Homecoming here. We get back into the ring and we get a TNT Championship match. Miro versus Lee Johnson. What did you think? I'll give you my thoughts after your hot take here.
I know we've said like Miro finds a way to still squash somebody but make them look like they had a puncher's chance, but I kind of wish they didn't do that.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. This should have been the Redeemer gets established. As much as Lee Johnson has a bright future, and like I said, check out that match with Danny Garcia. It is worth your time.
Yeah, but he's not on that like precipice where like, if he just got to win over Miro or look strong against Miro, he could catch fire.
Well, and with Miro being the Redeemer and doing this whole like God has sent me for destruction and I'm so sorry to do this,
It needs to be brutal.
It needs to be destruction.
Quick and brutal. It needs to be like broke your neck. Sorry, buddy.
And and again, if we're staying in this kayfabe world of matches mean something here, I'm having a hard time believing in 2021 that Miro has a harder time beating Lee Johnson than he does Lance Archer.
Yeah.
That's when you need these matches a little shorter.
Hey,
and
maybe he didn't get enough motivation from a vengeful God and a double-jointed wife this week.
I don't know, possibly. And did you catch JR there when he talked about Miro? He's like, this is the best he's ever looked. He's married right. He's doing the right things. He mentioned that he married right.
No, I didn't.
Just thought that was great.
I don't think I caught
he
that
was on one tonight, which he didn't do too bad. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Miro gets the victory. I liked how post-match he kind of cuddles with Lee Johnson, and then he takes the title and presents it to Jesus or God or whoever he's
God's
presenting
favorite
it
champion.
to. Yeah, but he presents it to him and just lays it down. That's a cool touch.
Yeah.
Because it's starting to tell a different story. It's not, oh, God has chosen me. I am boastful in the man.
It fits because, like Miro, Rusev, whatever, has always kind of changed a little bit about his character, but it's always been this idea that like he's full of himself, right? Like he thinks, and it's just kind of taken on this slight little modifications, and it's great. I love it.
But he's also using that, I think, by presenting the championship to God, saying like, I'm not hurting you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But to his opponents, it's this isn't me. This is coming from God.
God asked for this. Sorry.
Are you wanting to argue with God?
You were the sacrifice. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
This means good things for you. You were chosen.
Right. That's the fun part of the Destroyer. It's not just
because he could even
I'm the best in the world.
See, and like right now, this is how I would do it. He's strong. He's murdering people left and right. He's telling a few of them like, you were chosen. You should follow me and do as I do because I'm God's favorite champion. So he gets a few followers, and that's when he's like, when finally he meets somebody who can kind of give him a run for his money, and then he needs the followers' help, right? Like you could build off of this Redeemer thing, almost make it like a Jesus and the disciples. You know what I mean? Like just
well, and the first time he loses, just be like, well, that's not what God wanted. One of you have turned your back. Who is the Benedict Arnold? Right? Like who is the Judas?
Who is the Judas?
Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, Miro? Not the worst thing in the world. I'll tell you who I want Miro to go up against as far as a real feud. It's not Lee Johnson. Credits to Lee Johnson. He looked good. Shouldn't have because it needs to be more focused on Miro here. But after the match, we get a backstage promo with Christian, and it's announced that he is now the #1 contender. And he goes, well, you know what's better than being the best? Being elite. And so he's going to be at Rampage and Dynamite hanging out, and we might get the start of a Christian versus Elite storyline.
I think Christian, Kenny Omega, a match at like a big time Dynamite or something like that,
or a Rampage,
with the crowd hyped. is going to be great because we know Christian's going to lose that, but they're gonna go hard. They're going to put on like a 40-minute great match.
Is this though? Because if you recall, when Jon Moxley debuted, it was right after a Chris Jericho Kenny Omega match. So do we get Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega, and then that's when CM Punk at the Rampage episode debuts, right?
Or is that Daniel Bryan's spot? Because I think we get.
Oh yeah,
CM
either
Punk
one.
with,
Yeah,
right?
Daniel Bryan. Yeah, either one. But that Rampage show is in Chicago. That's why I said that. Right? It's in Chicago. Yeah, at the United Center. Yeah,
right.
So that's why I said CM Punk. But
Home
that's
of,
where you could do the match.
Mr.
The
Ball.
Chicago Bulls.
Lonzo, is it Lonzo?
Oh, Lonzo Ball got traded there. Yeah, good for him.
Million.
He sucks. Yeah,
$84 million.
Second overall.
Suck.
Well, he's the second overall pick, and he's on his third team in 4 years. So I don't know how good he is, and that's a lot of floated, bloated, not real money.
Yeah.
But we can get into contract talk later. Let's get into now.
Go Chiefs. Different sport, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just go Chiefs.
We now get into the women must pose, because don't forget about them before the main event match. Maybe a little long-winded there. We'll come up with a better title. But it was
There's
Layla Hirsch. I don't know. Maybe not. But we get Layla Hirsch taking on the Bunny. Okay. I'll say
Layla
this.
Hirsch is legit.
Oh, she's cool.
And every time you see her, you're like, "Oh shit!" Like she could fuck. You think she could fuck her?
Yeah. Yeah.
Old time joke for any new listeners. Sorry about that one. Yeah, she looks like she could beat the shit out of anybody. Like she could hold you down, take your money, and, you know what I mean, end your life right there. So I never hate when I see legit Layla Hirsch on my TV, but you know, they're just, again, there wasn't a whole lot of story. There's not a whole lot of inferred, albeit they did on this one give it, this person's going to get a title shot.
At the NWA champion.
Right.
Not the AEW champion. So hopefully, because it did intrigue me post-match, Layla Hirsch standing next to the NWA women's champion in the contrast of 6'6" and 4'11", it looked like. That looks fun, right? It looked like Braun Strowman taking on Hornswoggle.
Yeah.
I'm into that. I will say one thing that was of interest, or an interesting take that the producer did, is as Layla Hirsch is walking out, someone with a sign who must be listening to the show said Layla for Team Taz. Mm-hmm. And they showed this sign for a solid 3 to 5 seconds. And I was like, are you trying to tell us something? Because no one said that on TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody's watching this show, listening to this
And thank you. And thank you.
By the way, stay watching this show. If you caught on, halfway through the show or whatever, later on the show, we're going to play an interview that we did this weekend.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Cool dudes for the Dynamic Wrestling Federation, new professional wrestling organization starting up here in Kansas City. So all of our Kansas City listeners and close by, and even if you just love independent wrestling, you got to check out this interview. Stick with us later on the show for that. But back to this.
Oh, yeah, it was so much fun.
We had a blast.
Went all over the place in the best possible ways. It was so much fun. Definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
but now let's get into...
for anybody, it's about their new organization and then just professional wrestling in general and fun stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So now let's get into our main event. It was Heaven versus Hell, Light versus Darkness. Malakai Black taking on Cody Rhodes. First off, what did you think of Malakai Black's entrance? Did you get a chance to really see what the hell that all was about?
That was a lot of stuff to be about. Yes, hey, anytime we can dress somebody up and make it look cool, this is the fourth week in a row we've had a themed, named Dynamite. Like, they'll start to lose their, like, I'm going to not remember at some point, like the fourth time. And didn't we just do an Impact Wrestling Homecoming? Is that why we're doing this? I don't get, like, Homecoming, you already had, 3 events in front of crowds.
Well, but this is the Homecoming coming back to Jacksonville, because they consider
right.
Jacksonville their home because of the pandemic. The names are whatever. It's kind of just, I'll take it or leave it.
My point being that, like, I want those at special events, and this was a big fight, so it fit here, of course. But hey, Just as long as it doesn't get too long of an entrance, right? I don't need an Undertaker entrance. I don't need 4 look-ups from Finn Balor.
Yeah, I agree. But he looked like the goddamn devil with the horns and all the other stuff. Kind of gave me the willies. Got a little chill bumps on my arm. And then Cody comes out. And
did you get a little sweat? Were you like, whoo?
Yeah, a little bit. You know,
one of these, whatever you guys do there, whatever that thing is.
Yeah, holding the Bible.
You Catholic or something? Or you're
no, I'm not Catholic. I'm Christian.
So
anyhow,
you don't do this thing, right?
No, I don't need to touch my body.
You're like, I mean, I touch my body.
But here's the thing with this match is it was cool when they did it with Brody Lee.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is if you've paid attention to the AEW Dynamite or AEW in general match history, they've only done 2 squash matches. This is the second squash match that they've done in a main spot. I'm not talking about dark or, elevation matches when it's John Moxley takes on 0-6 guy. Not that. I'm talking when it's 2 legit people in the ring. But this is the second time now that they've done a squash match. And the first time involved Cody, and the second time involved Cody. Yeah,
Cody, do you have shitty pre-fight preparations?
So the theme, if you were to say that this is, real and in kayfabe, the 2 themes that I'm taking away from Cody is he's a bad friend because everyone turns his back or everyone turns their back on him. And 2, he gets too big-headed and he's not focused on matches.
God damn it, Tom.
What?
Cody's friends that turned on him. Cutie. We fucking forgot to get Cutie's waiting in the queue. We forgot to fucking interview QT Marshall again.
But it was because of the Dynamite. It was because of the...
Sorry, but I know I told him he reached out and was like, dude, you guys are going another night.
But here's the... We were like, here's the thing. It was
QT Marsupial is he's our favorite, our biggest fan, and he really wants to be on the show, and we keep forgetting, and I'm sorry, Cutie.
Quads and Traps will get you on soon. Again, the reason is because we usually do this on Thursdays, but because I'm going to the Foo Fighters, we're doing it on Wednesday. We got our wires crossed. We'll get to you soon. I promise. Quads and Traps, quick trip. We'll get to you. We'll get to you.
Quick time marsupial.
There it is.
Fucking, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the fucking factory thing you got going there.
Yeah. Factories, factory workers, sport unions.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? That's the whole vibe of the factory
owner, or are you the factory, the union, solidarity, brother?
We'll find out. We'll find out when we ask him in our interview with him. Here coming up soon. TBD. But what did you think of the main event? So, again, it's a squash match. We'll get into his post-match speech after your take, but as far as the match itself, were you shocked? What was your feelings?
I guess I was, speech with, coming up, I didn't understand that this was like a goodbye Cody moment. So I thought there would be a match. I assumed Malakai, Alistair, whatever the fuck we're calling him, was going to win. So that was just, I again was like, oh man, we're going squash match. I guess they really are going to buy in on this Malakai Black character.
Yeah, and that's good, right? Because that's what we always complain about is if you're going to debut them, make them look strong so that they're a viable contender.
God damn, do I sound like that?
No, but I'm okay. Here's the thing.
Are you trying to make me feel better?
I am. I will say this, though. There needs to be a little bit of break in the action, right? So, how in WWE land, we get hometown guy loses in his hometown,
Yeah.
That's how it always is. In AEW, we don't have to have every guy that debuts or girl that debuts with your company look like the next title contender. It's okay. Have them say this place, now I'm here, and then lose and be like, wait a minute. Are these people actually fucking good? You can tell a different story other than I am Conqueror, And that's what we got a little bit with Malakai Black is I am Conqueror, watch me fuck everyone up. And it's like, okay, but we had that with Miro. And before that, we had that with Lance Archer. Before that, it's like, so I can, but it's like, Break it up a little bit, right? Break it up.
I agree.
So now let's get into this post-match speech from Cody Rhodes. He goes into some diatribe as if he's been a Hulk Hogan 37 years in the business type of thing. Brother, brother, brother. Love you, love you, love you. And I guess he's trying to retire. And this is when I like Malakai the Black the most. He comes back in. He's like, no, no, no. Go fuck your mother. I'm hitting you with a crutch. You ain't gone. This is about me. This ain't about you.
Yep. Getting a heel to the skull, baby.
Yeah. So what'd you think of the speech? And then what'd you think about Malakai Black coming back and saying, fuck that?
I like that the speech was interrupted because I was sitting here thinking the same thing. I was like, look, dude, you are not Shawn Michaels and Edge and Ric Flair here. Like, I understand. Look, I know there's a lot of people that like AEW that liked whatever the Bullet Club and all that stuff that happened in Japan. We weren't, watching, super big fans of that. So, like, he's a bigger deal than those people. I'll give him that.
Yep.
But I didn't think even to those people that he was, like, an all-time great. I thought they thought, like, this is the guy now, right? Like, this is the guy right now, which I guess, okay. So maybe as I'm talking through this, maybe I see if, like, the guy right now, if Hangman Adam Page was like, hey, I got to retire, I'll be like, oh, man, God damn it. You know what I mean? So maybe, I guess, but, like, I wouldn't think that he would go on this, like uber crying, you know what I mean? Like, I just tried to do it for my daddy. Like, look, we get it. Cody Rhodes has had I'm going to say it, an annoyingly, like, jumping back and forth over that line of, like, don't call me Dusty Rhodes' son, and, like, I did it all for my dad, but this is about me. I'm Cody. I'm not Rhodes, but I love my daddy. It's like, hey, man, fucking pick one and go with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's always bothered me a little. But Cody Rhodes has been, I've never thought he was like, oh my God, he's amazing. I've always liked him since he's been out. I thought the Stardust thing was unique when he did it. I agree with him in the action that he took of like, fuck this, they're never going to let me be anything but that. I'm going to leave and do something else because I don't owe myself to them, which is great. I loved it, right? Loved all that, and I love what they created with AEW. So if all of that, to me, I guess, as I talked through, that does seem worthy of like a, hey, but Cal Ripken send-off, right?
But here's the thing. Okay, that's a perfect analogy. Cal Ripken send-off. Cal Ripken played 2,000 plus games.
Yeah.
Cody, I don't know his age off the top of my head.
20, right?
But yeah, I'm going to bet he's 32, 33. Again, we don't fact check here.
Younger than us, right?
Right. And so that's where it's like, unless you have a real injury, which he didn't allude to, right? He didn't say, I have a neck injury, I have to hang it up. If that's the case, I totally get the speech. But he was just saying, I have outside interest. I'm glad for what we built. It's time for me to move on. Well, two things there.
Even if it was like a, hey, we've got so much talent. I've got a kid. I don't want to risk it. Look, we're going to make the thing. You know what I mean? Like, even if it was that. You know what I mean?
No, that was...
Or even if it was like, hey, it's time for me to be executive vice president. I think we've got a crew. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? If he was like, I'm retiring. I'm done.
No, because it's not believable. It's not believable because you know the next CM Punk or Daniel Bryan that comes in, you're going to want to wrestle that person. So that's why if it's not a legit injury and you're not 60 years old...
I don't believe it.
Don't fucking do it. Yeah, don't do those speeches.
Even Shawn Michaels finally gave in.
Right. Now, God dang it. But he didn't even, he did do the speech the next night on Raw, but we were prepared for that. That was a, hey, let's celebrate this career because now we know it's over because he lost the match. To your point.
But I mean, he came back and did the match.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm saying as far as that, the night of and the speech, it made sense. To your point, tonight, we were not given any indication that this was a retirement match or that Cody needed to win to stay relevant.
Like when he was giving a speech, it was just kind of like, why are you acting this way? Like we were kind of led to be like, wait, are you leaving? Like what's going on? Right?
Well, he took the boot off, right? So he took the one boot off, and what you do in pro wrestling is take your boots off and leave it in the ring. What you do in MMA is you take off the gloves, you leave it in the cage.
Right. It's like you're hanging them up, right? It's like
so you're hanging them up.
Right.
But again, with no story going in, it kind of comes off as weird. But then you get thrown in.
It's like, hey, the Dark Order's already dealing with this with Hangman. Maybe you should talk to them. Like, you don't give up, man, just because you lost once. Okay,
exactly. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Just have John Silver start doing his guns and poses, and then you're good.
Cody, we believe in you, buddy.
Oh, What if? Oh, how much fun would this be? Okay, so then let's get to it. Malakai Black.
This is why I love our conversations, right? We booked the whole territory just fucking picking
Love
out
it.
holes in the stories.
Yeah, so Malakai Black comes back before Cody can take off his second boot. He hits him with the crutch, and he's like, this is my moment. He doesn't say anything, but you know what he's saying. He's like, if this show's ending, it's ending on this fucking weird eye. Look at me, motherfuckers. I'm the star. What I like is your idea there is next week or 2 weeks, right? Let's give Cody some time to recover. How much fun would it be if Cody walks up to the Dark Order and is like, hey, I hear that Hangman wants a break. I am kind of down in the dumps and need some friends. What do you say? But then if the Dark Order is like, no, we're not a paid friend. We're not a rent-a-friend. Like, you got to earn our friendship. And then that's what turns Cody heel. It's like, you don't fucking think I'm good enough? You don't think I'm good? Everyone should know. And then he almost does like the Seth Rollins character, where remember when Seth Rollins is like, I'm here to save Monday Night Raw. We will rebuild Monday Night Raw in my image. Cody can then go around, especially with the Dark Order to start, and be like, no. All the success is because of my hard work. Guys, do you not realize what I've done for this company? And then everyone's like, hey, man, you're kind of being pushy. And then he turns heel. Because we haven't got a Cody run as a heel in AEW. This could be the start of it. And then how much fun would it be if you steal a little bit of the Bray Wyatt character and you make Malakai Black be the type of guy where when you touch him, you change. Now, I'm not saying you go babyface to heel to babyface, whatever it is, but just something changes in you every time you come up against
all of your
Malakai Black.
Friends are like, dude, what?
Right.
You never, what?
Look at that. Snaps. Look at this. Dead Poets Society. Yeah.
Dead Poets Society.
Woo. Yeah.
That's what flooded your brain. All right, I like that. Yeah, that's fun. Okay. Yeah. Hey, look.
What'd you think of the episode? Let's kind of recap our thoughts here.
The whole idea is like, if you thought this was like, oh my God, this was the big like moment for Cody, like this is the finale. Like, no, you just left me with more questions. Like, did Cody return? And maybe that's it. Maybe it's like, I was gonna, but now I'm not.
Right.
Because of you. I am a real American. Wait, sorry. Is that the wrong thing? That's the wrong thing. Anyway.
Is it though? Is it with him?
Is it though?
Because he has so much. He's bullshitting. He is bullshitting so much because he has so much that he's even said that he wants to do. One, he hasn't done anything with Sting. Remember when Sting kind of put his arm around him and was like,
you called it years ago on this show with Mark Henry's retirement. You said, I can never trust another pro wrestling retirement ever again.
Never. Yeah. Never.
I'm this an bullshit. In-ring pro wrestling retirement I will never trust again.
Never. Never. And you can't do it better than Mark Henry. That's the other thing, is Mark Henry should have been like, what are you guys doing? Hey, I did that. No. Rewrite that shit. Guys, they're going to think that you can't compare to me, and you can't. So, like, get the fuck off. That's what he should have said. Hey, I missed that in our recap, though, real quick before we move on to other things. It was announced that our Rampage announced team, at least for the first episode, is going to be led by Excalibur with his best friend, it seems like, Taz, which you can catch on AEW Dark, then Mark Henry, and then Chris Jericho. Yeah, I think it's... Yeah, I understand. I don't like 3. I think 2 is best. Mm-hmm. It's great. That's great. By the way, that's another quick thing I want your feedback on. If you've been paying attention to Dark and Elevation, they've been doing almost like a carousel of commentators coming through. So they had David Crockett. Then they've also had Eddie Kingston sit in. They've had Ricky Starks kind of pop in and out.
Yeah.
I think they've also had there was someone else. But what do you think about this kind of, hey, if talent's not going to wrestle, then they're going to start calling matches?
You know what I mean? I don't hate it. I also noticed that I was muted, so you may have missed what I said there, but it was all fun. Check out Dark and Elevation if you missed it. Taz is funny. Yeah, I like that. That's great because it's also, as much as it is dark and it should be wrestler's practice, which is essentially what Dark and Dark Elevation is, it should be for the commentating team as well.
I think Elevation, they're starting to tell a little bit more stories
Yes.
because, for example, Lucha Bros got a victory on Elevation and Andrade came out and was like, hey.
And listen, I think I may have made the decision that, like, I'm just not going to watch Monday Night Raw and I'm going to watch Elevation instead.
Oh, yeah. Brother, did that weeks ago. Especially now that Eddie Kingston's on commentary. Anything Eddie Kingston says is 10 times better
Even
than a
knowing
Charlotte
Elevation
promo.
is like hey, this is not televised. You know what I mean? Like, this is just...
Yeah,
Then
still way more fun.
Still better.
Still way more fun. Because, like I said, they're starting to sprinkle in more stories. When Lee Johnson, the way that Lee Johnson got this match against Miro for the TNT Championship was he had to win the match on Elevation.
Hey, listen,
so
we're not going to
there
go
you
through a full recap of anything WWE. We're going to talk some subjects on that and tweet the table, but like this is one of the worst Raws I ever had to sit through. Ever.
Go to one. Go to one. It's worse.
It was so bad. I watched it probably over 20 times, right? Like I watched some as it started, went back to later. And every time I could no longer get more than like 10, 15 minutes at a time before I was like, I can't, this is fucking bad.
What data, I know we're not going to cover it in depth, and that's totally fine, but I just want to know, what data are they seeing that tells them the story to run with on your longest show is Charlotte versus Nikki? I'm not going to say your fucking initials. That's stupid. But why do we think that is our main event story?
I don't know. But as we're off of that, AEW Dynamite Homecoming ended with a retirement. What'd you think of the show as a summary?
I thought it was a tad underwhelming for
I
their
agree.
high standards, right? Like if this was a Monday Night Raw, this is the best Raw in 30 years. No, not that long, but 20 years, right? But for the high standards that AEW Dynamite has, especially coming off of the Nick Gage, Chris Jericho match, I thought this was a little bit conservative. I think maybe they're drinking their own Kool-Aid thinking that this Cody retirement speech was going to move mountains, and I think they thought maybe a squash match was going to shock people. But again, you did it with the same talent twice within a year, so it's not that shocking. Kind of makes you look repetitive. So I would say, it's fine. Yeah.
You know what I would say? Stick with us through this show. We're going to have a great interview with the folks from the Dynamic Wrestling Federation here in Kansas City. Also, we're about to get into some fun, a fun part of the show where we talk to you, the fans. We let you have your voice heard. And we do that through Twitter with hashtag #TweetTheTable. By the way, follow us on Twitter at Table Show. You can find that link at SpanishAnnounceTable.net. And it's very simple. You use hashtag #TweetTheTable. Put in your wrestling thoughts, and we're going to read them right here. And I picked out, because of time concerns, got the interview, I picked out the 3 best, Tom. The 3 very best, right? I just remembered, before we do that, it's time to talk some financials.
Oh, we got to get that financial report. Boy, I tell you what, we're still on that skyrocket to the moon, skyrocket in flight. Boom!
All right, for anybody new to the show, Tom and I invested some money into MJF Coin. MJF came out and said, I'm starting my own cryptocurrency. You can buy some of it. We put a lot of money on this. Tom
all
put
of it.
All of his money on this.
All of it.
And it started out great. Was going to the moon and took a nosedive, a near nosedive. Tom was in deep depression for a while. And it's been bouncing back. It's kind of up and down a little bit. Last week had a 60% up, right? And so, Tom, this week we are down 35%. And we're still down 81% overall. Yeah. Yeah, another 35% drop this week. Let me put that graphic back up for everyone to see there. 81% overall. So the car, you still have it though, right? You've hidden the car this time, right? They can't repossess it again.
I got my tricks. Yeah, I got my tricks. I got my tricks. But Tim, why? Who is doing this to us?
I think it's Jericho. I think it's that Jericho keeps winning these. You know, Nick Gage gave him a bump, and then Hoovy.
God. We think Wardlow's going to bring back the bump. MJF. The fuck are you doing,
Nobody's
pal?
Nobody's going to beat Nick Gage, so he might give it a little bump, but it ain't going to. So we might experience. I have confidence. We're going to see like another 20% up next week. That's what I'm saying.
All right, good. I'm going with that. Yep, another car.
To the moon, baby. All right. Hashtag tweet the table. You ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Very simple. At the Rebel Trucker says hashtag tweet the table with the Bray Wyatt news breaking yesterday. This Chicago crowd is going to hijack Raw tonight. Now, let's pause the Bray Wyatt discussion for a second, Tom, and let's talk about that Chicago crowd. Raw was terrible, I'm going to tell you. But one of my favorite moments was them chanting, "We want Wyatt," over a Goldberg promo. So before we cut into the Wyatt news, that I said the words Goldberg promo already ought to let you know that this did not go well on Monday night.
Yeah, I think, he's proven when I think he doesn't have to be saying a speech or, speaking from a script. He does fine, right? His retirement after he lost to Lesnar 3 years ago at WrestleMania, when he's like, this is the last match. I thought that whole promo was good. I was like, man, this guy can talk. This promo, you could tell it was, okay, what's my next line and what's my next line? And then he got
Gladiator 17 times.
Oh, yeah. And then they got thrown off because of the "We Want Wyatt" chants. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that Wyatt news. I'm going to bring up one more tweet the table from @Theo75. He says, what was the point of firing Bray Wyatt? They should have fired the Apex bathroom break Randy Orton instead. He is not really doing anything for the product and is a legit money pit. Hashtag tweet the table. Hashtag Cornette face. Listen, Randy Orton probably makes a shit ton of money for the company and merchandise, so they're not going to fire
so
Randy
does
Orton.
Bray Wyatt.
But so does Bray Wyatt. And it was announced Bray Wyatt was released. Now, I think what we started to discover is that they did it for budget cuts, and that means Bray Wyatt was like, hey, I came up with this character. I need some more money out of it. And this is similar to what, others have done in the past.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. Then give it to him and fire Rude and Ziggler.
The Dirty Dogs, are they selling anything?
No, that's what I'm saying. Just then say, okay, don't do it again, right? We'll concede on this one point. We'll give you a $200,000 bonus or whatever it is, whatever he's wanting, right? That one carrot that he's wanting.
But they've done this. They give the character to someone else, or they kill the character and say it's ours.
Yeah, but I mean, Alexa Bliss.
They have made it clear they don't want you bringing up your own ideas. They want the writing team coming up with the ideas, or writing the ideas from McMahon, and you fill the role. This is what Cody Rhodes complained about. Mm-hmm. He said he couldn't get out because they were like, no, we want you for this role.
Yeah. And then, but here's the thing. This is where we as fans need to really put our foot down. It's bad. I think collectively speaking, the Twitter verse or whatever we're going to say, wrestling fans, thinks that Monday Night Raw is subpar to bad most of the time. So then we just need to stop talking about it. Now, there's a subset that's always going to love it, right? Rey Mysterio's my best friend. I love him. He's the greatest. I got all of his masks. Cool. You can watch all the WWE you want. But, it's not worth our time.
I don't want to sound rude, and I hope I don't turn away fans here, right? But if you're able to go to the wrestling event now and sit there and be like, I'm so happy Rey Mysterio's coming out right now, I think you are a surface level thinker who doesn't fucking contemplate anything other than what's right in front of your face, because there's nothing. They're not telling any fucking stories. They're not giving me any reason to care about the conflict. We saw fucking Drip Drip versus goddamn Damian Priest again. They even had to reference, like, remember we fought before, let's do it again. They have everybody in the fucking world, and they just don't do anything ever different, and it's the most basic shit I've ever seen. It's really mind-boggling.
And the only way they're staying relevant in the news cycle is things they're doing outside of their TV show.
Well, and I think they also, and that they pay for fucking ESPN coverage and shit, which, by the way, ESPN, I got enough to fucking say about them right now, but hey, fuck it.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, have you been following the college football news, Tom?
Oh, yeah. Well,
oh,
yeah.
my
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I like it. Good. Fuck them. Fuck them all.
Fuck you.
But with WWE, the only relevant news they're making is, oh my God, did you hear on the earnings call that Vince McMahon said that AEW is not competition, or hey, we fired Braun Strowman, or we fired Bray Wyatt.
He said AEW is not competition the way WCW was, and then somebody put out the meme that was like, yeah, but AEW is just recreating WCW, and they showed like all the pictures of the old WCW people. It was like Bischoff, Henry, Big Show, fucking like every fucking buddy. It was Jericho. It was fucking Juventud. Fucking everybody. It was like 20 people on this thing.
Yeah,
like,
and that's and also I don't know if you saw someone caught an NXT show and they're watching the match and then they turn behind them and some producers watching AEW, which you should, right? Because you should know when they go on a break, then you go.
Say we don't watch the competition, but you absolutely watch the competition. You should. Every business does.
Yeah, everybody does. But that's what I'm saying. WWE's only interesting points are things that aren't on their show. There's nothing interesting since Roman Reigns has turned heel and made Jey Uso join his family. Since that I Quit match where Jimmy came in and he's like, all right, he quits, or, Jey quits, all that stuff. Since that moment, it has been on a decline. Collectively, all of it has been on a decline since then.
Yeah. All right. Final tweet table at Devil Vamp says, Fat Jericho and Fat Juice, laugh my ass off, hashtag tweet the table. And yeah, you kind of alluded to that earlier.
Gosh, dang. Again, what I'll say in their defense is that if you wrote this down on a piece of paper and I say, hey, the 5 labors of Jericho, the third one, we're going to bring back an old rival, Juventud Guerrero, and they're going to wrestle. You would be like, that's cool. All right. Like in a video game, if this was video game characters and we're writing this out, and making it happen in the video game, everyone's going to be like, okay, I'm into this. But in practice, again, Jericho, take a vacation. Get on that cruise by yourself, man. Like,
take a cruise on the treadmill. All right.
Well, it's his face to me. I know he looks bloated, but he's 50 years old, right?
Yeah, right.
Eventually, just put on a Inner Circle shirt or a Judas or a Fozzy shirt, something like that, and wrestle in that. That's fine.
Sting can give you tips.
Yeah, Sting can give you all the tips you need for wrestling in a T-shirt. But his face just looks so weathered and depressed and exhausted.
Yeah, it's...
It looks like the 12-step program for recovering alcoholics.
What did Theo used to call Stephanie McMahon? It was old leather with implants.
Yeah, that's what his face looks like.
Old leather right now.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks bad.
All right, so let's sum up the wrestling world before we get into this fun interview. I actually, this will be easy. We saved the best for last. Unless you've got any finals on thoughts. Oh, they also let go of Ric Flair, but I mean, does that mean something?
Well...
Are we going to get a Horseman reunion in AEW?
So, I didn't mention it because I didn't know when we talked about the Ric Flair news, but did you catch tall bastard elite guy? What's his name? Gallows?
Yeah.
Doc Gallows was wearing a Ric Flair robe to just troll people to say, like, yeah, he's coming here. I thought that was fun.
Somebody pointed out Charlotte was wearing a Rolex on Raw. I don't know if you caught that. She was wearing a Rolex. Uh-huh. That might have been a subtle little.
Yeah, maybe. Mm-hmm. I think he goes to AEW, but I don't think it's going to be I'm here every week. I think it's going to be just like how Nick Gage came in for a week.
He's going to make a spot, right? Like his son-in-law is there, right? You know what I mean? So, right. Andrade, for anybody not in the aware. They are married now, right? Or are they just engaged?
I think just engaged.
So, at any rate. All right. Fun times. We're going to get into this interview. We'll play that out. When the interview's done, we'll see you next week after that. We had a blast for this. Everybody in the chat, join us. Check us out, SpanishAnnounceTable.net. But these guys coming up, the Dynamic Wrestling Federation. If you're in the Kansas City area or you're anywhere near, you're going to have to check out this event coming up on September 25th. All Out War at the Camelot Ballroom in Overland Park.
All Out War.
8-man tournament to crown
their first ever champ.
Oh, man. And some of the names announced already are super fun, especially for some of us local folks who've been here before in the old NWL days, the Metro Pro days, Central States days even.
Well, and if you've been paying attention to AEW Dark, you might recognize some names from watching AEW Dark that's going to be in this tournament as well. So got some good names here.
We're super excited about this. We tried to do this a couple of weeks ago. We were having some technical difficulties. Go figure.
Shocker.
Who the fuck would have guessed that on the Spanish Announce Table we're having technical difficulties? So we said, hey, listen, man, we don't want to keep putting you through this. We will come to you. We came down to their tattoo shop. By the way, also, they have a tattoo shop. How fucking cool is that?
Oh, they're so cool.
I've never done anything as cool in my life as having a tattoo shop, right? Like, I'm like,
right.
There's nothing like, I mean, I feel like I'm a cool guy, and you'd say I'm a cool guy, but, like, I haven't done something, like, on the, like, societal scale of cool as, like, open up a tattoo shop. So these guys are super cool. They invited us in. You'll see their hospitality was off the charts. I feel ashamed that, like, I didn't even come with, like, a fourth of their hospitality. They're the most amazing dudes. I'm excited for this interview to play for everybody. You got any final words, Tom? Because we're going to.
No, I had a blast. This was a great time. We kind of spiral into just having wrestling fandom talk, which was, always a highlight for me. So,
and for any non-long-term listeners, and for the long-term listeners, we do Cinco Preguntas with these folks, where we ask every new guest the same 5 questions about pro wrestling, like history and where they're at in their headspace with their pro wrestling fandom. You're going to love that. So even if you're not like, what do I care about a pro wrestling federation in Kansas City? If you're in Philadelphia or whatever, watch this interview for that, because we get into some fun nostalgia stuff, all kinds of fun stuff. And I don't know. Here we go. Man. Yeah. We're going to get, while this interview plays, Tom and I are going to work on booking this Frankie Krozarian storyline. So have fun watching this interview.
Claws up.
Ooh, Tom, this is fun. We haven't done an on-site interview in years. I mean, coronavirus, of course, but...
Yeah, this feels good to actually see some people in person and not just you.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. Yeah, I can be abrasive, gentlemen. So, like, he likes to see people other than me once in a while, but we only let him out of the house once in a while. We are from Kansas City. Our long-term listeners know that, and we love Kansas City, and we also love wrestling. So naturally, it would stand, we love Kansas City wrestling, right? And that had waned off over the decades. And then it kind of came back and it waned off again. But I'm telling you, Tom, much like the MJF coin from last week.
To the moon!
So we're back up to the moon with a brand new pro wrestling federation starting, the Dynamic Wrestling Federation. And they're starting up in September on the 25th, the Camelot Ballroom in Overland Park, with an 8-man tournament to crown their first ever champion. And some of the names already announced. And from what we hear, what's coming down the pike is going to be amazing. And we're just here to talk to the owners, CEOs. We have Trinity, and we have Logan Diamond, correct? Right? See? I'm a professional.
There it is.
I'm a professional, Tom. We took notes. And we're just here to talk about the pro wrestling thing. They also own Classic Tattoo here in Overland Park. So they're entrepreneurs. They know what they're doing. And, man, I tell you what, I'm excited to be here and talk to you guys. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, man. We appreciate you guys coming out. This is going to be fun.
So let's get started with this first one-night tournament. It's an eight-man tournament. It's called All Out War. So I'm going to be going to this show. What can I expect from this first show from DWF?
I'll let you take this one. Go for it.
Expect your money's worth. Expect to love wrestling again, man. Expect to be a little kid watching, Saturday night's main event. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And just emotionally involved in the storylines. Things make sense. We've got a lot of cool surprises coming up, and it's going to be something really cool. We're doing an all ages family friendly show. We're going to get the kids involved again. I want the same kids that are coming from Monday Night Raw to come out to our show and then just beg their parents to come back because they're so invested in the characters and the storylines. We're not reinventing the wheel here, man. This is Force Awakens for Star Wars nerds. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's basically what we're going after.
Yeah, we just want the kids in. Old guys like us that grew up loving a certain style of wrestling. We want us and them to bring their family and have their kids fall in love, because then I was lucky enough where my daughter got into wrestling about 9 years old, and it was a special thing between me and my daughter. You know what I mean? We'd always watch Raw. You know, we'd watch SmackDown.
Yep.
We'd go to Raw, Raw Live, SmackDown. We went to WrestleMania 33 when it was in Dallas.
Yep.
We went to the Royal Rumble when it was in Philly when Asuka won. We went to the first Money in the Bank Women's in St. Louis when it was here. So, I mean, we have a lot of amazing memories as me and my daughter. That was our thing. And we want to build that in Kansas City for other families who might not be able to afford Raw every ticket and or the WrestleMania price, but this is something where you're up close, you're personal, you get to see the action, you get to smack your favorite wrestler's hand and have a blast doing it.
So what then? You're sitting here, we're in the middle of a global pandemic and there's no wrestling. What makes you think like I can bring wrestling back? Like walk us through how does that decision, was it a light bulb moment, or have you been like sitting on this for years? Or
Well, this is something me and Trinity have been having this dream for about 5 years now.
wow, okay.
And we just never knew how to do it. And luckily, through when the NWO was running, my tattoo shop that I had at a different time was a sponsor.
Oh yeah.
And Trinity was able to win front row tickets for a year from an up-down tournament that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And
We were at some of those.
yeah.
Actually, you guys were actually announcing the tournament.
Yeah,
That's right. Okay, I do remember that now. Yes. Right.
By the way, WWF No Mercy, Nintendo 64, Kansas City champion, 7 tournaments.
Is this guy right here.
Oh, wow.
When the tournament ended, I won the last tournament. So that
Yep.
technically makes
He's
me
won
still
it
the
7
champion.
times. He's undefeatable. He's he's the Undertaker of the.
He's the Andre the Giant of the N64.
Well, I've been defeated before. I got my foes, but I ended up I ended up taking the last tournament we had. So
That's cool. Those were fun events.
They were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So luckily through wrestlers started getting tattooed at my studio, and especially we're going to give a shout out to Strider right now, Michael Strider.
Yeah.
He's been the Obi-Wan for us. Love you, buddy. Thank you for all the hard work you've been doing. But
this couldn't be possible without him.
without Strider, man, we would have never known how to do this.
Yeah.
So
We are fans.
yes.
What I mean?
Oh, of course.
And so he was getting tattooed one day, and we were just kind of, like, how does it work? What's the inner workings? I mean, he's here for an all-day session, and we'll talk wrestling 9 hours. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so he's like, it's really not that hard to do a show. So I was like, well, hey, man, if you're free one night, let's all get together, go have a beer, and let's talk. And by the end of the message, or by the end of the meeting, I was like, we can do this.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was like, all right, man. I was like, this is not without reach. We can make this happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then, like I said, he's the captain. He steered us in the right way. He knew the talent. He has hooked us up tremendously.
Yep.
And thank you to everybody else. Joe McDonald, who has been doing Joe McDonald. He's been doing our website and all of our graphics.
All our promos and graphics
And
on the promos.
Joe, man, thank you so much.
Thank
Anybody
you.
needs internet stuff and website, talk to Joe.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal.
He's awesome.
Dart, big shout out to Dart for
Yep.
creating our logo. Thank you, my
Yep.
man.
An artist that works here at the studio.
Yep.
So
Yeah, Michael Strider. Well, actually, we've had both Joe McDonald and Michael Strider on the show. Michael Strider was our first guest, so I can only assume he was there getting a Spanish announce table tattoo at the time. So you don't have to confirm that.
don't have to confirm
I understand
or
there's legalities and stuff, but we're just gonna take that.
you just have to look at his arm. Maybe
Thanks,
it's all
Mike.
hidden in there
Yeah,
somewhere.
right,
Yeah, you know what I mean?
So-
Yeah. Right. It was covering up a name that maybe he didn't want to have. You know what I mean? Let's not get into that.
Exactly.
So with DWF, as we mentioned, this is a first show where it's going to be a one-night tournament. A champion will be crowned. So after this first show, is there a plan to do every other month?
Yes.
Month?
Every other month.
Every other month.
We've actually got our year up until basically All Out War. Our first event is going to be our WrestleMania next year.
Nice.
And that's September. So we have our year planned out.
Yep.
So, we already have our second and third show mostly booked already, and it's going to be at the Camelot Ballroom. They've worked out a great deal with us. We want consistency. Mm-hmm. Plus, I will say for adults, there is food to be bought. There's concessions. You want a few beers, have some beers. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're not trying to take the stiffness into wrestling.
It's not Disney Wrestling
Yeah, exactly.
Federation.
Well,
Right.
we still want people having beer, and having a great time, but we just take out the vulgarity and the violence that a lot of wrestling promotions seem to thrive on that we're not wanting to do.
Sure. Right.
So yeah, we have our year planned out. So
So what is it like then working with talent to do that? Say, hey, I've got this new show. It's going to be a tournament to name the champ. Like, do you have to convince people, or are they eager?
Strider did all that, man.
Oh,
we
wow,
didn't have
okay.
to do it.
Nice.
Within like 4 days after we decided our date and we found our place, dude, he was like booked.
for the second and third show, like we reached out to some people that were scouting on our own. I don't want to say anything yet, but
we've got some talent from other regions coming around.
But people are super receptive. They're super cool. They're super mellow and chill and very humble for the most part. I love it. I love everything about this.
So then what, I mean, we kind of mentioned it. You say you're not reinventing the wheel. You're going back to, some other things, but like, can we expand on that a little bit? Like what is maybe missing now that we see? I think how Tom and I know how we would answer this. What's on the indie scene now that maybe turns old school wrestling fans off that you hope to bring?
It's the stories, man. It's those great, Romeo and Juliet stories, those, the gladiator stories, the mythology of wrestling, you know what I mean? The kayfabe, we want to bring kayfabe back, you know what I mean? Nowadays, it's like me and Trinity were talking about this. We don't want somebody who just wants to get into wrestling to be the next, movie star.
Right.
Be a wrestler. Right. We want you to have a gimmick. We want you to live that gimmick, you know what I mean? The Iron Sheik is the Iron Sheik.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Macho Man was always Macho Man.
That's true.
And that's cool that, if you want to be a movie star, great. Move to Hollywood, man. We want wrestlers.
Yeah.
We want people that, growing up, you love, like, man, you connect with them. You want to see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what wrestling has been killing the last few years. Any amazing talent that the fans are connecting with, they do something different with, or they run them away, or they fire them, or it's like, listen to your fans, man. When when certain wrestlers are getting pops and just and you do nothing with them, you know what I mean? We want to have just not one-on-one matches where we want to have where you want to come back to our next show because you want to know what's going to happen for the next part of the story.
I like that. Big fan.
Mm-hmm.
So describe to us the creative process then. You talked about how Strider's already kind of working with the talent, but is this just writing on a piece of paper, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, or like, describe your creative process for
in order to describe that, I'd have to go back about 5 years.
Okay.
Nintendo 64, No Mercy. Mm-hmm. Just like a lot of video game nerds, and then, by the way, I think that's the best wrestling game ever.
Best wrestling game ever.
It just sucks that it erases out of nowhere. But anyways.
We've all had that nightmare.
By the way, I do have the $300 fixed copy that you could send in, and they would send it back. Anyways.
Wow.
So we would play wrestling, and when we worked at the tattoo studio, and it'd be slow, and after a while, we'd start creating the old guys, and doing that, and then all of a sudden we started creating our own wrestlers, and then we started literally just making our own wrestling world. We came up with the Dynamic Wrestling Federation. We're like, let's make up 5 or 6 guys, tag team, stuff like that, and write their backstories as original characters. And we started from there. And we've literally created our own wrestling world from just playing video games. We went nuts on it, dude. We brought like a $1,200 belt, like what he did. Got a $1,200 belt for our wrestling thing, and we recruited more guys, and it just ended up evolving. We still do that to this day.
We get together once a month, and we continue our stories from the last time we played. We continue that, you know what I mean? And we have logs of, all of our champions, like who beat who, how long, how fast, what finisher, you know what I mean? Like, we love the stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of pro wrestling, though, is it's a story come to life, right? Yes. That you're not getting elsewhere.
Exactly. Right? Well, and the thing is, there's no one else that I've watched, WWE, AWE, or AEW, or, even the indies. I mean, that's good for whatever they're doing. It's just not what I want. You know what I mean? You'll have one snippet of, man, I really like what they're doing with this guy, but then they either, put him in a different direction, or they just switch up the story, or, you know what I mean? So consistency is the word we're looking for, to where, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to know that if we start a storyline, it might be a year before that storyline comes to a halt. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're going to make it worth your while to want to watch it.
Right. And I think that's the big boys in this field might, I'd say, like, they discuss the term episodic, but they seem to have lost that episodicness, if that's a word. I'm going to crown that a word. Right. Where it's week over week. Can't miss, because it's not going to be the same thing. There's going to be a storyline advancement. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. So describe a little bit of what you think your signature, obviously we haven't done the first show. Yeah. And like you said, listen to the fans, kind of have some stories thought out, but then obviously adapt for whatever you hear from the fans. But as far as like a signature of what you think going into this promotion will be, is it going to be focused more tag team wrestling? You had back in the day, TNA was the X division. Right. Do you have a vision of maybe like what our signature is going to be?
No, we want to have a nice, tag team wrestling is mine. Yeah. I love tag team wrestling.
Our second episode will have
some tag teams.
Gotcha.
Well, our first one's going to be an 8-man tournament, and then we're all going to also going to have a women's match to usher in our women's roster.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
And then after that, we're going to focus on tag teams. We're going to start bringing in all the elements, slowly, but we got to start.
Of course. And and that's the thing too. We also, want people to know that women's wrestling is important to us too. You know what I mean? We want the girls that come with their moms and dads to say, "Hey, I can do this too."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be just the boys' club. You know what I mean?
Right.
It can be where a little girl's like, "Man, I got to see this local wrestler, and she gave me a high five, and I want to be a wrestler when I grow up." You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well, and I know we've already got, some names announced, so you may have to clue me in if I've forgotten somebody. I know we had Gil Rogers was out there.
Gil, yep.
Moonshine Mantell is one of us I'm excited for.
Well, tell us, because again, I don't want to maybe make announcements that haven't been made. So who's a part of it so far that we know?
Gil, we got Moonshine. We have the Roscoe Leach from the he's going to be a manager.
Yep,
Roscoe managers.
We're still waiting. We put our application in several years ago to join the Leach Talent Agency, and he keeps saying he's going to call. Roscoe, we're waiting. We put forth a great percentage for you. We're hoping to hear back with the counter offer at the very least.
You got to send him a VHS tape.
That's what it is.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
There's an indie guy, Daniel Maccabi, which I'm not familiar with, but have been watching, or wasn't familiar with until I started watching his matches on YouTube.
Right?
Very technical. Reminds me of an old school Bret Hart.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Like him.
Miranda Gordy.
Yeah, Miranda Gordy's going to take on Marty Bell.
Yeah.
I think I saw. Oh, that should be good.
Absolutely.
Oh, you got Marty Bell?
Yeah.
And Miranda Gordy is
Party.
and Miranda Gordy is Bam Bam Gordy's daughter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that should be
That's going to be a fun one.
So I think that's pretty much the only ones that are.
I feel like we're forgetting one.
No, I think those are the only ones that are announced.
Oh,
right
Planquet.
now. Oh, Planquet, of course.
Niles Planquet.
Absolutely.
The connoisseur.
The finest, most sophisticated wrestler you'll find in the area for sure. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're excited about that one. Man, I'm getting excited.
Again,
for this tournament.
great character.
Yeah.
Niles
Oh,
Planquet.
yes.
Yeah.
Good.
And I will say, people need to check out our Facebook page every week because we're dropping new vignettes.
Yep.
But just know, let the people know. Promos, sorry. We do have a big surprise coming for Kansas City. We're going to have a Hall of Famer that's going to be in Kansas City doing a meet and greet. So once,
Hey,
yeah,
awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
I mean, we're talking a good name that everybody knows, and I'm one of my childhood favorites, so I can't wait to meet him.
Okay.
But once I'm able to drop his name in his promo, just know Kansas City, something big's coming for you.
I'm excited to see what that is.
Well, let's just get right into it because we're talking about the old school wrestling.
Yeah.
Let's get some more into what you guys like. So let's do Cinco per Gusto.
Let's do it. Yeah. So we ask every guest that we've had on, every time they're first on, we ask the same set of 5 questions. So we get kind of a feel the crowd. Now, most of these are softballs, so you're not going to think anything great. So the first one is, who's your favorite wrestler of all time? And you both can answer.
Okay, are we doing tag or are we just doing it?
Whatever comes to mind. You can name 3, 4. Nobody
So
knows.
we don't have like rigid rules.
Okay.
We're not going to say you can only name one. So if you want to say,
let me just say, whenever I'm asked questions about wrestling, I answer them as 8-year-old me watching wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, man.
I'm gonna have to go with the legend, the man Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
10 years old, loved wrestling. My mom took me to wrestling for my first time, and I got to meet Hogan when I was 10.
He's what got me into wrestling.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Hogan's will always be. Without Hogan, there would be no wrestling.
Of course, yeah.
So Hogan,
not the way it is today.
Yeah,
for sure.
Hogan will always be my number one. Then I'm gonna have to say Rowdy Piper.
Yeah, good choice.
As much as I like good guys, I love a good heel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's one of the best.
Oh yeah. Macho Man.
Mm-hmm.
Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
Man, fifth one's gonna be hard. Fifth one.
Is it 5 questions or 5 wrestlers?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was 5 wrestlers.
It's 5 questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, you can name 5.
People have answered.
Okay.
People have answered.
And then I have to
multiple
say,
things.
but I mean, I'm saying for me because tag team wrestling is what I like the most. Demolition, man.
Yeah.
Give me Demolition.
Yeah. They're great.
Demolition.
Yeah, I was a big Demolition Mark when I was a kid too. All right, so who's your favorite wrestler of all time, Mr. 8-year-old?
So I realize that this is not Ultimate Warrior. When I was a kid, man, I was a Hulk Hogan fan. And then Warrior came on the scene, and I was same thing. I was a Demolition fan. Then Road Warriors, Legion of Doom came on the scene. And then I became Legion of Doom fans.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, man, I didn't care about technical
of course,
matches.
right.
I loved the intensity, and he was throwing dudes up in the air, and it was awesome.
Look, it's not to discount how over he got. Saying all of his flaws and whatever he did wrong or whatever not. But he was a superstar.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing that, I think pro wrestling fans need to realize is you can have whatever backstage, whatever his real name is, right?
Yep, right.
That's one person. But then Ultimate Warrior was a bigger than life character.
Yeah, right.
His matches were, 5-minute.
James was an asshole.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Warrior was a great story.
Right. So that's one thing is when you can say, Hulk Hogan is your favorite all the time. Then you go, well, how about him? It's no. That's Terry, right?
Yeah,
Terry's doing this.
Yeah.
I love when Hulk Hogan's ripping his shirt off and
the hulking out and the coming back. And
Ultimate Warrior was pure intensity. How could you hate that as a kid? Like I loved it too. He's busting in the ring, blowing the shit out of people, shaking them ropes. I mean, you got
every time that music hit, I was up off the couch.
Boom, yeah.
Up off the couch.
And that's what we're coming at is like the kayfabe part of it, where it's like, and unfortunately, with internet and Twitter and everything, you're never going to be able to hide everything.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: come to our show and just want to have a good time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Don't worry about their personal lives and whatnot. Get invested in the story and the characters. You know what I mean?
And going back to that kayfabe idea is you can, what we call on the show, pro wrestling hate someone, right? So if a heel walks out, you can say, boo, I hope you lose. I hope, someone pantsers you, all of the stuff. But then, when that guy goes to his car after the show, we're leaving him alone. He's walking to his car. Yeah. I'm walking to my car.
I don't remember he was a manager for NWL, and when we would go, we'd always sit next to each other. We ripped this guy every time he came out so bad. Just where
Jovi,
where
he was awesome.
When he'd see us at shows, he didn't even come near us. You know what I mean? Because he was just a swarmy character, and we weren't throwing stuff at him. You suck. You know what I mean?
We would not let up on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, his haircut, his clothes, his glasses. We ripped him, and finally, I think at one time he was just like, "Come on, guys," you know what I mean? But that's the fun part of wrestling.
Yeah. And I remember from the NWL days too, with where things just come out organically, like Dak Draper wearing white trunks, and that turns into tidy whities and people bringing underwear to the crowd. Somebody brought the biggest pair of underwear I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, I remember that.
It looked like a sale, right? Yeah. I don't think you get that in those larger where you don't have a tie.
This is
what's going on.
Going to have a personal connection with Kansas City. Citizens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
all right, so let's get back into the Cinco Pregunta. Second question, and again, you can freestyle this however you want. Your favorite match of all time?
Well, I'll let you do that one first. Go ahead.
Again, little kid me, Warrior versus Hogan. Yeah. There was nothing bigger. There was nothing better. That was the first time.
Okay, hold on. So we're all of the similar age. So you are a Team Warrior or Team Hogan?
Warrior.
Oh, I was Hogan going in the match.
Well, okay, so let me tell you this.
We're out of here. Fuck this.
Let me rephrase. I didn't want either one of them to lose.
Right.
When I was a kid, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be.
We thought the world might explode.
Yep. Yes,
you really were like, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
It was so weird. I remember I didn't see it because it was pay-per-view and my parents didn't get it or whatever. I think it was 6th grade maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember going into school next day looking for where's those rich kids at who bought the damn pay-per-view? I got to find out what happened. And they told me Warrior and I was like, fucking
It was bittersweet. No matter, and if it would have been reversed in time, if Hogan would have won, it would have been the same thing. I would have been a Hogan fan after that. But at the same time, it just it was like, man, he lost though. The hero lost.
I felt my heart hurt.
That day. Absolutely. It was hard.
Me, SummerSlam '89, Demolition versus Hart Foundation.
Oh yeah,
that was a great feud as well.
Great feud and a great match because you had two good styles. You had intensity and just bruteness, but you had Brett who could wrestle. And you had Neidhart who was just power.
Yeah. He gave that credibility to where if they're going to run through us, well, at least they're going to have to run through a little bit harder because Neidhart's not going to just lay down.
Exactly.
Not to say Bret Hart would.
Yeah, totally.
But Neidhart would be the muscle that can go up against someone.
As a side story, Neidhart was one that I think as a kid, I never noticed it, but looking back, I was a big Neidhart mark. I would do the fake laugh at the thing, and I would do his poses and stuff without ever even thinking about Neidhart's one of my favorites.
Right. I just remember the first time seeing him going, how's the guy from ZZ Top a wrestler?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it always
great.
Then I was like, well, wait a minute. Is he related? Because his name's Neidhart. And I was like, they're the Harts. You're really trying to walk it through.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So this one here, the third one, and you may have already answered this since we discussed earlier kind of how you were breaking into this, but we normally ask who's your biggest influence in this business?
Ooh.
Influence as far as what?
Well, we get that answered two ways. We never clarified it, and some people will say who personally impacted them and helped them, and then some people will say what style. And so we've just started leaving it up to however you want to answer.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I'm going to say just all around wrestling, Dusty Rhodes, man.
Ooh, nice.
Dusty Rhodes. To me today, nobody will ever beat his Hard Times promo. Nobody.
It's so good.
You know what I mean? Not only that, he could take anything and make it spin into gold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think I watched that promo probably 10 times on repeat after he
it's
died.
something like, in my personal life where, like, if things are getting rough, you know what I mean? I'll turn that on. I'm like, dude, I get, working class, we got to work for what you have for a living. You know what I mean? We all, we don't come from money. You know what I mean? Then we're putting our money into this to make our dreams happen, which that's a good lesson for anybody. Work hard, save up, go for it. You know what I mean? You live once. If you lose, you lose, but at least you tried.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No,
so
I think
Dusty Rhodes, man. Dusty Rhodes is classic. I mean, 50 years of wrestling, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so influential, even like behind the scenes for everybody is so
writer, producer, territory owner, wrestler, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
That's
Good.
a tough
All
one.
right.
So
I feel like a journalist now.
when I was a kid, I used to love WWF. That was my thing. But there was one element that drew me back to WCW every single time, and I couldn't. Sting.
Oh, yeah.
Sting. And then he got the Attitude Era, and he did the whole crow stick.
Yeah.
And man, that was so good.
He had a mystique that I think was ahead of its time for that. And then just even before that, before the crow thing, his charisma.
Sting.
Yeah, the Surfer Sting was amazing.
Yeah, his charisma's
I'm a
undoubtable.
Surfer Sting fan. Me and him talk about that. Like,
I love Surfer Sting, too.
Once he went to Crow, I couldn't be a part of him.
I still liked it.
You know what I quietly liked too was when he did an Impact Wrestling when he did Joker Sting. I love that. I wish they would have dug deeper into that.
I hated it.
What I like about Sting right now, and this is maybe breaking kayfabe for a second, but if you watched AEW last week or maybe the week before, but where he is Sting, right?
Yeah.
We all know Sting. You can tell your parents about Sting. They might think it's a musician, but then you tell them about the guy with the face paint. They're going to know about that. And so that statue of a person who's going to say, hey, Orange Cassidy, you do the slow kick stuff. I'm going to come to you and do like your thing because I want to show that like I can evolve with the times. I'm not just stuck saying, you know what I do? I do, 3 kicks and a body slam and I'm out of here. Like
big boot and a leg drop, brother, right here.
But like I like that he has the humility to go to TNA and say, like, you know what? I'm gonna do main event Mafia. Like Sting, Surfer Sting, if you go back to 89, right? Or 90, and you say, like, this guy's gonna be in a gang. You're like, what? And it's like, well, no, because as time progresses, he's going to attempt to try to stay with it. So I like that part about him, too.
I agree with that.
There's one overall reason why I picked Sting, too. I'm the type of person that I get really set in my ways, and Simon's even said before, like, I'm the most stubborn dude he's ever met. You know what I mean? Like, I will walk through hell for my convictions. Yeah. Sting went that entire time and didn't come over to the big leagues. Yeah. He stuck to his guns. He was stubborn, and I respect the shit out of him.
Yeah, he definitely had a principle that he wanted to stick to, and he stuck with it. So that is.
Well, he had the principle of who he was, right? Like, he understood, I'm seeing this talent and that talent, and all of a sudden now they're fighting a WrestleMania match over a hair, shampoo commercial or whatever it is. Remember Edge and Booker T? Yeah. So it's like, he stood to what his character was and what he thought of himself as far as, like, you're not going to devalue what I am.
I still think it was a shame that at that WrestleMania, him versus Triple H, Sting should have won. They should have given that win to Sting.
I agree with that, too.
You know what I mean?
I feel like we fell into this alternate reality to where, like, the wrestling timeline went off the rails and, like, we didn't get the right. It should have been Sting and Undertaker. It should have been all these little things.
All of the what ifs.
Yep,
maybe that could be a future Cinco Burgoon says, what's your biggest what if?
Biggest what if.
Yeah, but
I like that one.
We'll get back into the questions here. So we're all wrestling fans here, so we probably don't know all the wrestling terms, but babyface, heel, all of that. What is your favorite pro wrestling term?
Oh, good.
Yeah, that one throws some people.
We've heard them all.
Yeah, we've heard people say rat, gimmick,
skin the cat. Biggie, right? We interviewed Biggie, and his favorite pro wrestling term.
Schnavitz was one was thrown at us.
The cat,
I'm just gonna have to say finisher, man, because that wraps it up. You know what I mean? Nice. When you hit your finisher, like, not only is the pop gonna happen, but like, if they kick out of it, then you have another opportunity to do it. You know what I mean? So
that
is my favorite.
That is unique, and I don't think we've heard that. And it's interesting because it is such a common word used in pro wrestling. Like, people say that. What's the finisher of this guy? Like, he hit his finisher. Like, he had 4 finishers, right?
Yeah.
And
well, and it's something so specific to where we obviously know what that means when you say it, and it's something you can describe to a casual fan or just someone who doesn't know pro wrestling. But they'll get it, but they don't know that first off, right?
Exactly.
Like, oh man, the AA, that's his finisher. Like, what? Like, okay, so this is what.
But it's an easy term to grasp for the outsider too. That's a good one. All right.
I like heat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like heat.
Heat's a good one, and it's one I use in in regular life, if I say anybody got booed or anybody caught, flack for it or whatever they say, I throw in, I'm like, man, they were getting so much heat for that.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can start to pick out like who's the wrestling fan when you throw that one out.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah, in like emails, and if you sit next before COVID, when we were all in the office, working the 9 to 5 jobs, and some email came out, and it was like per my last email, I'm like, oh man, you got some heat on that one.
right.
They wouldn't know what that meant, but then I explained, like, yeah, I did.
But it's also, I think it's one where it has an intuitive, meaning enough that people can get it if you're using it in conversation, right, that aren't maybe wrestling fans. But I love heat a lot.
Yeah, heat's a good one.
That's a fun word.
Yeah. So this one is the 5th question is not even a question. So we're lying a little bit, but this is the curveball. It's a bit of a hypothetical situation, and feel free to take a little time if you need. But this one's like we're going to pretend that we're sitting here in the booking meeting, right? Okay. And this is fun because you guys actually are owning a pro wrestling federation.
Yeah, so the goods, kid.
But we're booking you two to the top, right? Whatever your top is, right? Whether it's Mania, whether it's DWF All Out, right? You guys against Tom here. Give us the story.
Now we can do this 2 ways. You can either do it.
So like we're actually wrestling you, or
whatever it be.
We can do it a couple different ways.
Okay.
Again, freestyle, however you want. You can say it's you're a tag team and I'm a manager, or you can say it's me and you, and then me and
or it's your wrestling federation and he's an asshole. Whatever your creative mind takes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So there you go.
Well, for me, I'm going to have to go with, if we're doing that, me and Trinity are going to be a tag team, and you're going to be our Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Okay.
Okay? You know what I mean?
Brain?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but you're
I thought we
Mr.
were supposed to
Fuji.
fight you, though.
Yeah. No, the guy could be the. Yeah.
Well, we can get there.
Oh.
Sounds like he's going to get there.
Okay.
So, some sort of just, maybe like, you used to manage him and he screwed you over. You know what I mean? So, like, you're now our manager and we're coming out to get revenge for you on this guy. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I like that.
All
right. So then the big question comes: if he's now managing you and you're coming after me because he's screwed, he's coming to try to get after me.
I like that.
And I'm going to do a 1-on-2 against you guys, right? Who's going over here?
We're going over.
Dude.
Only because, really, I mean, here's the thing. I used the bouncer for years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've seen real fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 2-on-1 ain't easy.
You're not, unless you're like Bruce Lee, you know, or just some badass. You know what I mean? Like that shit's. Oh, I'm sorry. That stuff's for the movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I love this because normally Tom gets the shit kicked out of him, and I'm over here laughing. So this is good for him to finally get one over.
Tom, you're being the weasel now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So therefore, you're Bobby the Brain.
You're
stirring it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm taking the heat this time.
Good.
Yeah.
It's definitely a triple threat kind of. Not a triple threat, but what's
Handicap
match. Thank you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, not most people are really gonna get away with fighting 2 guys and win.
Oh, of course
You know
not.
what I mean?
Especially me.
So,
Yeah.
I'm going to struggle with one.
Especially
I'm
him.
going to struggle with one.
Yeah.
So we give you the doomsday device, and man, it's over.
Yeah. God, it's a great move.
I like it.
All right. So then where can everybody find more about this DWF, right?
Like Facebook page.
Right now, we're still lacking on content because it's still our first show's
Yeah,
coming
we're
up.
trying to slowly tease things.
So-
DWFwrestling.com. That's your base. You go there, and then you're going to get all our social media outlets. And things like that.
Perfect.
We're most active on Facebook.
Right now. We're still working on our social, with
We're gonna
Instagrams
get some more
and
out there.
TikToks
Oh,
and
it's
all
slow.
that.
That's a slow roll, man. We've been
Yeah.
doing that for years.
with
Yeah.
Instagram.
Well, especially for old guys like us, I'm not computer savvy at all.
Right.
They're like, "Oh, why don't you scan this and give me a PDF?" I'm like, I can fax it to you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I'm not computer.
You're like, listen, I'll call a courier and I'll get this over to you later.
I get a toning pigeon. I'll write it out for you.
Give me a pen. I just want to write things down. Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, there's definitely by our second, after our first show, we're gonna have snippets of matches. My nephew does amazing photography. He's coming out to do photos of the of the wrestling and all that stuff. So by the end of September, we'll have a lot more content.
Yeah.
So right now, it's just pretty much the promos of people that are coming into the tournament.
Oh no, of course. And that's why we wanted to jump on this and get in early because we know there's a lot more exciting stuff to come out. So we're hoping to see more. I'm excited to go to that. Again, it's September 25th, Camelot Ballroom, Overland Park, Kansas. If you're in the Kansas City Metro or even anywhere nearby, or if you're rich enough to take a flight, get down here and see
what's
this thing.
to get the actual tickets? So if you want to buy the tickets, where are we going for that?
Our Facebook page has our link to our website, which you can just buy.
Just go right there, dwfwrestling.com. Perfect.
Awesome. Cool.
All right. Well, I mean, if you guys got any last words or not, then we might end it here. But I'm excited to see this thing, and I have a feeling Roscoe Leach is going to get involved somehow and just do something to muddy this tournament up. Oh yeah.
If you wouldn't mind grabbing us a beer.
Oh, let's do that.
But
that's right.
when you go back there, there's a little folding curtain.
Okay.
Pull that back, and then there's going to be 2 boxes wrapped in gift wrap, and then bring those back out. If you would please.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm glad you remember that.
Gosh.
I'm glad you did.
So, all right. So, Kansas City Wrestling, I'm excited about kind of this resurgence, right? I mean, there's other promotions doing shows finally again. You guys are starting up. It's been something that's been missing. Obviously, the pandemic. I mean, how did you guys personally get through some of that? I mean, was it pulling up old network, watching old wrestling stuff? I mean, because you guys went through a lot of live shows.
Yeah, when we were shut down for those 2.5, 3 months almost, my wife got annoyed. She's like, "Stop watching wrestling," Because I mean, it was just my kids were home.
Yeah.
So I mean, first because I got baby hands.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, me and my daughter, we just started watching. We tried to get through every WrestleMania. You know what I mean? I think we got through 7 or 8 till finally it was just one of those well.
Where am I going again?
Oh, so all the way back there to the left, there's going to be like a divider, like a accordion looking thing. Just move that, and then it'll be on the floor. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I think we got through 8 or 9 of them before it just, was like, all right, maybe a couple Royal Rumbles and whatnot. So.
Yeah.
I love watching on the network. I liked actually watching more of the historical stuff. You know what I mean? The territories, the old wrestling. You know what I mean?
You know what I like about the network a lot is some of those documentaries. If you go watch those 24s and some of those old kind of the Untolds, some of those can get really. But yeah, there still isn't, and this is kind of what you guys are getting into. There isn't that same feeling of I remember going to my first, as we probably mentioned, Metro Pro show, and just feeling that intensity of the man.
Where are we putting these?
All right. So who is older?
Oh gosh, that's me.
Yeah, then you get to pick which
These guys
box
got
you
gifts.
want. These are gifts. Nothing major, just something we threw together for you. Just pick.
We definitely did not deserve this.
All right, you pick which box you go
top
for.
one here.
Right.
Okay, and
I'll let. I can't have both. I got to give him one of these.
Yeah.
Look at this, man. I mean,
there's scattered stuff in both. There's scattered stuff in both.
He's the brain, man. Come on, we got to.
He is the brain. Is a big punching, glove going to come out of this and punch me in the face? Is that what man. This is a better gift than them tattooing you on the neck for this interview. I'll tell you what.
You can throw stuff on the floor.
Man. Oh, look at that. I feel special.
this is great.
Might want to
flip yours over. Flip yours over. Right side up. Yep, there you go.
Boom. Oh, man.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, snap. Whoa.
Look at this.
Hey, we got some look at that.
Shameless plug.
Oh, man.
We got some stickers.
This is going to the studio.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, snap. Look at this.
So that is Niles Planquet's autograph. I decided to add a little class and sophistication.
Snap.
Oh, WCW magazine.
If you want to hear it, while I'm doing this is amazing, guys. First of all, as I keep going through this stuff, a fun story about Niles Planquet is with the NWO's
figures. I don't know. Are they?
The NWL starting, and we're like, let's do a bit with Niles Planquet. I'm gonna go get some shitty wines. I'm gonna go get Aldi wine. Box wine. What the hell? Look at that.
Hasbro's, homie. Hasbro.
Oh, my God. Look at this.
I got you go with your story, and I got a story about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I grew up on.
So we're like, we get Niles Planquet's got Belvedere. You know, we're like, we're going to set up a fun little segment. We'll record a video. We're going to do a wine tasting with Niles Planquet. And I got a box wine, a $2 Aldi's wine, and some real bad shit. And he's going along with it. We're setting it up. We're getting ready to do this recording up in the upper balcony of the, what's that place called? The Temple?
Scottish Rite Temple.
Temple there at NWL. And we're going through the whole kind of, script or what we're going to do back and forth of the format of this wine tasting. And I knock over one of these bottles, and it breaks and starts spilling wine all over the bleachers of this place. 3 or 4 rows all over the place. like they're like, listen, we're gonna get out of here. We got a show to do. You guys fucking have fun cleaning this up. And then went back down to
Jim.
Oh my god, dude.
This was the first wrestler I ever met.
Really?
Lewis. Dude, he was so nice.
I hear ya.
Great.
Oh my god, I used to have these all the time when I was like, look at these guys, man.
All right, so this action figure here specifically.
Okay.
You guys are the
This
fucking
is
coolest, man.
really special to me. And I'm glad that I got this box with this in it.
Nice.
So, Hulk Hogan turns at Bash at the Beach.
Yep.
In WCW, turns to NWO. I get so emotional. Obviously, you listen to the podcast. You listen to the podcast. I get emotional today. But I got so emotional that I ripped the head off of this.
Oh my god.
I mean, I had it in mint condition. Yes, Rowdy Piper.
Yes, I think
And-
this might be the one I owned. I think you
And
guys haven't.
I had some other Hogan gear. Like I had a couple T-shirts. I had a hat. I threw it in. Like I made a little bonfire in the back. I threw it all in there. I was like, I hate this guy. He's the worst. I mean, I'm not kidding you. If you were to like eBay it today, that's probably like I probably had like $3,000 worth of stuff. Like value
right.
now.
Yeah.
Back then it was $100 or something.
So much of my childhood.
But this is awesome. Right
Oh
here,
my
look
God.
at this.
Did you see the autograph you got there?
Yeah, I got Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Dude,
So
this is
those, remember Muscle Wrestlers?
yes.
The Muscle Wrestler company still makes Muscle Wrestlers, except they make like WWE, Masters of the Universe, and all that stuff, and then you got an original Muscle in there.
God damn, man. So
is
much
so
of this is
awesome.
like
Yeah.
bringing back flooding of childhood.
Oh,
And you've all, and I made sure that we made sure that you all have different stuff in there. So if you want to trade,
I have that.
You-
I have that. Yeah, I still have that.
You guys have officially become the coolest guests
Oh,
we've
this
ever
is
had,
the
man.
best thing
I know, man. You guys want to be friends? We hang out.
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh,
I'm gonna say this, all this right here, man.
Oh,
this is
shit.
all Trinity. Trinity scours garage sales and flea markets,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's been collecting this stuff. I mean, like
Fucking
this.
amazing.
This
so much, it never
this credit
stops.
goes all to this guy right here. This was his
you're the
idea.
coolest,
He
man.
did
I
this.
appreciate this.
He showed up. He's like, "I've got gifts for him." I'm like, "Dude, that's crazy, but awesome."
That is
You
super
guys
cool,
are-
man. You have to do
No, I'm taking no credit for this. This is all
And when
Trinity.
you are the coolest.
Trinity is the coolest. Yeah, I suck. Fucking,
Oh, you got that one.
look at this.
God damn, this is fucking amazing.
Look at it. Well, bonfire. So I'm a beer in this, and you drink it out of that.
Brutus the Barber's another one that like I secretly loved as a kid and never
Oh,
thought
yeah.
about till later. I was fucking to this day if I get a pair of garden shears, I do the fucking
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I do it. I still do it at
damn it.
like Walmart when I walk by them. I'll grab it
just
like
to do it. Just to do
Even
it.
their entrance music back then, like it's got that little.
Oh, Tracy Smothers. And Sid Vicious.
Oh, snap. I got free birds. God damn, man.
Got
Oh,
10
and
WWF and 10 WCW.
God, they have a bunch
they're
in them.
Oh, I thought it was
my
a
God.
back-to-back.
This never
Okay.
ends. It's like a Russian nesting doll of coolness every time we get this stuff out. Look at all this, man.
Ricky Morton, speaking of legends who are
Yeah.
still going today.
Oh yeah, he's
He has
still
a
wrestling
GC
too.
yeah,
isn't
He did a GCW
He
match.
did a GCW match
They
in
went
a
out.
barn.
They went to Laramie,
so
Wyoming,
cool.
Oh my
and did a
God.
match. They did like a whole wrestling show in a barn, and this thing had like farm animals in it, and you could like hear it. And one guy tried to come in on a horse, and the horse got spooked because I mean, there's probably a couple thousand people in this barn.
Yeah.
And it got spooked and rode off. And so then the crowd for the rest of the night is chanting, "Fuck that horse! Fuck that horse!" Insane. Insane.
Underrated tag team.
Oh,
Doom.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Look, I got Jack
Legion
Tunney,
of Doom.
No, Doom with
the greatest
Ron
president America's ever
Doom.
had.
Yeah.
Ron Simmons
Right here.
and Butch Reed.
Yep.
Butch
That was
Reed.
old school WCW.
Yep. That was
Yeah.
old WCW.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to say there were quite a few years. I didn't really watch wrestling because I was playing in punk rock bands and stuff like that. So I never hated WCW. I was just always loyal to WWE. Was my brand.
So
Yeah,
Butch Reed
I always
went to school at Central Missouri. I graduated from Central Missouri. He's the first ever guy eliminated from a Royal Rumble, the very first Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Okay.
And this tag team, if you want to see matches today that hold up, go watch the Steiner Brothers versus Doom.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
my good God.
Dude,
Well, in
yes.
WCW back in the day, always had those characters. They had Sting, they had Vader, they had Doom, they had Steiner Brothers, all that good
Speaking of
Oh,
Steiners,
yeah.
that's his favorite tag team.
Oh,
of all
that's
time.
my favorite tag team of all time.
Oh, I love the Steiner
them.
Brothers.
Oh, here's a Ric Flair chopping the shit out of Sting. Look at that. Get him. They got
That's,
him. Look at that. That's
the
a great
Great
picture.
American Bash when I think Sting won by decision.
Yeah, I
for
think
his
you're
first
right.
title.
I think you're right. Ellie Conte. That guy. God damn, this is great. Arn Anderson's another one that I love.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All the Four Horsemen, the Brain Busters.
So he's got the other thumb wrestler. If you guys want
That's right. We're going to have to thumb wrestle sometime on the show.
This is so
Fucking
great.
Arn Anderson is one where, like, if I'm doing the Four Horsemen,
Yeah.
I'm picturing Arn Anderson
Yep.
holding up the four.
He
Man,
is the
there's
Four
no-
Horsemen.
Yeah.
As great as Ric Flair was, Ric Flair was the best talent of all of the Horsemen. But this is how I like equate Macho Man. Is where you might say back in the day, Hulk Hogan was better, Ric Flair was better, but anyone who impersonates a pro wrestler is doing a Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, is doing a Macho Man.
Yep.
Anyone who impersonates a Four Horsemen is doing Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
God damn, look at that. This
Randy
is
Orton.
fucking insane, man.
This is incredible.
Those are legit autographs too.
Oh, look at this.
crazy, man.
Jimmy Hart. I love Jimmy Hart. He's the best. Isn't
Jimmy
he,
Hart's
guys?
the man. Oh,
Jimmy
yeah.
Hart.
Isn't Jimmy Hart the best?
I love Jimmy Hart.
Dude, you guys are fucking amazing.
This is
man.
amazing.
You guys are amazing.
No, thank you for coming down. Like
Yeah, thank you for having
I
us
said,
on.
man, this was all these gifts were Trinity. Seriously, man.
Oh.
Well, let's.
I bought beer.
That beer's good.
Yeah, I know.
beer's
It's
great.
We have, yeah.
All right, so September 25th, right? No,
Yep.
24th. 25th. It's
Yep.
Saturday.
Saturday,
Camelot
September
Ballroom, DWF, All Out War,
Mm-hmm.
8-man tournament to determine their first ever heavyweight champion.
Yep.
That's what we're calling it. Heavyweight champion. Guys have to go DWFwrestling.com.
Yep.
Get your tickets, fly in, buy some MJF coin, and come in if you're not from Kansas City. And this is going to be awesome. And we'll definitely get some more updates. As
The only thing, the one last thing I do want to say is that we are putting on another No Mercy tournament at the Up Down.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yes.
will be, I think it's going to be September 8th, which is a Wednesday.
yeah.
So if anybody thinks they can
Well, we're
beat
not
the champ,
exactly
we
sure on the
think
date
it's
yet.
going to be 8, but I mean, it'll be posted.
Yeah.
Check the Facebook for
But
details.
anybody thinks they can take on the champ, and believe me, he took $100 from me the first time we played because No Mercy was the only game I was ever good at.
Yeah.
Even my little brothers couldn't beat me, and they beat me in everything. And I'm like, dude,
It was like fighting a little kid.
he beat the crap out of me. I was like, dude, I was so sure. I'm like, dude, I'll put $100 on it.
All right.
And he beat me like in a minute.
It's a challenge to the gamers out there.
So
Speaking
this
of
guy,
$100,
there is.
a $100 cash prize at the No Mercy tournament at Up Down.
Yep.
So come get my money if you can.
Tom's going to
Yes.
practice. Tom's going home right now to practice.
Dude, you're
Actually,
gonna
we
need
would
it.
love it if you guys would.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, of
Kind of go
course.
full circle with the
Of
whole
course,
first tournament I won.
absolutely, yes.
Oh, man, that'd be
Yeah, the
great.
folks at Up Down have always been super cool to us.
Yep.
We would love to go out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
David Hayden.
Oh, David Hayden, big
Yeah.
shout out.
Dave,
Absolutely.
you've been great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Another
Yeah,
great
but-
resource for Kansas
I'm just saying, Kansas City, you guys better like lace up your boots and do some practicing because this guy's undefeatable.
I don't think that's a word.
Undefeatable?
Keep using that word. I don't
what
think
I
it
mean.
means. What do you think it means?
Undefeatable.
Undefeatable. I think it sounds
Yeah,
right.
well, it is now. Undefeated.
Unbeatable. Okay, there you go.
Undefeatable.
He's 7-time champ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, if you can't be beaten, you get to make up whatever word you want. Who's going
Thank
to
you.
stop you? So
hey, I'm a
let's go
2-time
with that.
champ. I've beat him twice.
I like that.
I've been beaten
Like that.
before, but I always come back and
Yeah,
get
he
my
does.
belt back.
Yeah, exactly right.
So,
This is amazing. I'm excited for the DWF, and I'm out of words at this
I'm
point.
excited. Yeah. I'm excited for this tournament.
Cheers.
I'm excited for all
Cheers,
the
gents.
future things.
Gentlemen.
Yes, here we go. I got baby hands. There we
The
go.
objective is we want you to show up and experience the show and feel like you did
Yep.
when you just opened all this stuff up.
yeah.
All right. September 25th, Camelot Ballroom, Overland Park, Kansas DWF. Check it out.
The Spanish announce table.